Well, all day we've been waiting with tremendous anticipation for the highlight of the European football season, the Champions Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus, due to kick off in Brussels in around half an hour's time. But I'm afraid the news from Belgium is of the kind we didn't want. There's already been serious trouble among the crowd, so straight to the Heysel Stadium and Peter Jones.
It's all mayhem here in Brussels, violence and ugliness and already injuries, some of which look very serious. It all began half an hour ago in the evening sunshine here away to our left. A huge, huge bank of Liverpool supporters. Now, to our immediate left, there was also a section of Juventus supporters. And really what mattered was that the Liverpool supporters decided to charge the Juventus supporters. They fled in terror. A steel fence went crashing to the running track. Police arrived, but not enough, certainly. And the Liverpool supporters, quite simply and literally, took on the police. Already a dozen bodies are lying out there on the pitch, tended by ambulance men. Stretchers have carried away bodies already. There must be several hundred people on the pitch. Police horses, police dogs, smoke bombs have scuttered through the air here. Riot police with shields and truncheons and visors. It is really some of the worst scenes I have ever seen in my life. And Emlyn Hughes simply sits here as the former captain of Liverpool and shakes his head in disbelief. Emlyn, what can you say?
There's nothing you can say, Peter. They're animals, they're ignorant pigs, and they should be banished from anything that ever to do with football again. It sickens you to the pit of your stomach. It's terrible.
Well, there is still an awful lot of activity of the wrong sort down there on that pitch. About 10 minutes ago, the main body of Juventus supporters are away there to our right. They decided to take the law into their own hands. They went racing down the running track and then stopped at one end and simply made gestures to the Liverpool supporters. It really looks like a butcher's shop down there at the moment. And I would think, Emlyn, there must be serious doubt about this European Cup final.
Well, I don't think it'll start. I honestly don't think it'll start, because there is no way at this time, and we're coming up with less than half an hour to go before kickoff, there is no way that they can clear the pitch. There's people strewn out there, there's bodies on the floor, there's police charging sections of fans, walking in line to keep people in order, and I don't know what we're going to do about it, Peter. People say that we need more fences and more police. That's not the answer, more fences and more police. That's food and drink to a lunatic. He wants to fight the police. He wants to pull down fences. It's disgraceful, and it sickens you to think that you've been in a game that you've loved for 20-odd years and you can see scenes like that happening. Terrible.
So that's the scene here at Brussels, not at all what we hope to be reporting, but it really is very, very serious indeed here as more police dogs come on away to our left, and it has nothing at all to do with the European Cup final.
And we will, of course, keep you right up to date with the developments from Brussels. Peter Jones and Emlyn Hughes commenting there on the situation in the Heysel Stadium. It's already been an unusual build-up to the European Champions Cup final, with Joe Fagan, the Liverpool manager for the last 2 years, confirming that this will be his last match in charge.
It's leaked out 24 hours maybe before the big game. I didn't want it this way, but why I've retired is two things. I hope people understand it. I feel that I'm too old for the job. I think it needs a fresh face now. And also, I'm a little bit tired and I want a bit of a rest. Therefore, I feel that the time has come to say, right, Joe Fagan is relinquishing the post of team manager.
Well, now let's head straight back to Brussels and Peter Jones.
A few seconds ago, Joe Fagan, the retiring manager of Liverpool, has walked onto this pitch with a Liverpool shirt and a white 12 on the back, and he looks certainly in considerable distress, Joe Fagan. He's walked across the pitch, through the crowds, through the stretchers. He's going across to the Liverpool end away to our left. And certainly Emlyn looks deeply, deeply moved by this disgraceful behaviour.
It's got to be deeply moved. I mean, I know Joe, and Joe is an emotional person. And you can see him walking over there now with his head in his hands, trying to get some semblance of order back to the disgraceful scenes that we've witnessed in the last half an hour. And I'm just hoping that they will listen to the man that's guided them to 3 trophies last year, a European Cup final this year, second in the League Championship again, into the semi-final of the FA Cup, and I just hope that they see some sense and disappear from where they are.
So that's the scene at the moment. In the centre circle, we have 24 riot police with shields and visors and truncheons. Away to our left, the tiny figure of Joe Fagan, but the man with a great heart, and Joe Fagan now stands some 6 feet away from the barriers to our left. He's got officials around him. He's holding his arms in the air, as if to say, please don't spoil what could be a great occasion for Liverpool here. And Joe Fagan has his head in his hands. This certainly is one of the most emotional scenes I've ever seen on a sporting occasion. What can he do, Emlyn? What can he do?
There's very, very little he can do. What we can only hope is that the fans will, they'll listen to what Joe's saying. Get back the other side of your barrier. That's where your tickets were given. Stay that side. Don't get involved in any fighting. There's been enough disgraceful scenes as it is. And it's terrible to think that we, as the nation that gave football to the world, and now standing in a situation where we could be banned from any sort of international football. And it's got to come to that. Something has got to happen to English football where we can get these lunatic element, idiots, louts, pigs, whatever you want to call them, away from English football.
Well, the whole world has turned round for Joe Fagan in the last 12 hours. This morning he was quite emotional when he told us that he was retiring from the manager's seat. He said, the manager of Liverpool needs to be a young man and I'm not. He said, I felt tired at the end of the season, but I'm handing on the job to a great club, he said. I'm very proud of everything I've had to do with Liverpool. He will not be proud at the moment, Joe Fagan, who I think is in tears. He still stands there, and from where we sit, he's a tiny figure in the jersey that he's so proud of, the red of Liverpool, and he's simply leaning against the barrier and appealing to thousands and simply saying, you cannot do this to the name of a great club. But that's what they're doing, and they've done it for the last half hour, and 2 more stretchers carry away bodies away to our right, and more riot police now come onto the pitch. All I can say is, my luck goes with you, Joe Fagan, but what a task.
What can we do? What can we say? There's people lying on the pitch there, with stretchers there, ambulance men, and Joe's over there. Joe's got no chance at all to talk in a section of the crowd of about 100, 150. And everything's going wrong. I mean, it can't start. The game cannot start at 7:15.
And there's one thing, of course, that we must fear in the back of our minds, and that's that the Juventus supporters, a huge bank of them away to our right, have broken ranks only once, but I think they're getting really rather more cynical about the scene now, and perhaps feeling that they might like to join in themselves, because there is no semblance of order here at all. Still Joe Fagan stands, he turns away, he comes back towards us, and certainly it seems to me that he is deeply distressed, Joe Fagan, and he's holding his head in his hands.
What should have been Joe Fagan's finest moment in his career of football, leading Liverpool hopefully to the 5th European title, European Cup title, and then the cup would have been ours to keep forever, to show what Liverpool have been the greatest cup winning side that the history of English football has ever known, and Joe's out there appealing with idiots to try and get them back the right side of the barrier. It's terrible. I feel terrible for Joe. I feel terrible for Liverpool Football Club, because Liverpool Football Club is a part of you. It grows in you, and you want them to do well. You want them to win trophies, and now Joe's out there humiliating himself, trying to get people back the other side of a barrier. I feel terrible, terrible sorry for Liverpool Football Club.
Well, Joe Fagan's shoulders drooped there just for a moment, and he looked a rather tired man. He's disappeared from our view away to our left, but we still have the same scenes, still at least a couple of 100 people on the pitch, still 1 or 2 bodies being tended by ambulance men, still stretchers everywhere, still riot police, still policemen on horses, and in the air there's a smell of fear, a smell of ugliness, a smell of riot, and there is no way this European Cup final can start 20 minutes from now. Indeed, there must be serious doubt as to whether the match will start at all. The police horses are now massed just below us as another stretcher is carried away with some 8 white-helmeted ambulance men, the Red Cross prominent on the chest, because that's really the sign that we've seen here. Now a policeman and a dog go rushing onto the centre circle. with 2 or 3 supporters who've decided to join in, and the policemen are now taking those supporters off the pitch. The cheers from the Italian supporters away to our right. But what I think is deeply disturbing, quite apart from the horrific news of all the injuries and the deaths, which of course we must confirm for you, but apart from that, Emlyn, there are still sporadic outbursts all around the stadium, quite
Everywhere.
apart from that.
Everywhere. I mean, as you said earlier, Peter, it's like a tinderbox just waiting to explode again. If it's not one side of the ground, it's into there. It's not there, it's over this side, where people's tempers are just breaking because of the violence that we've seen, and one section is blaming the other section is blaming another section. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. Honestly, I can't tell you, Peter. It sickens me. It sickens me for being a player who played with the greatest club in the world, and their reputation has been torn to shreds now in a matter of half an hour. A reputation that's been gained over 25 years of European football, of never an act of violence, never any problems, winning trophies here, winning trophies there, with no trouble before, during or after the game, and that's been torn to shreds in an hour.
And I suppose, Emlyn, if we can just cast our eyes away from the awfulness of the scenes there in front of us, and awful is not strong enough a word, of violence and ugliness and real terror, the players at the same time are down there in the dressing room waiting for the greatest night of their lives.
Waiting, as we've said, waiting for a night that should be their night, that they should win the European Cup to keep forever and ever and ever. And they're downstairs, and they'll know of nothing of this. They'll be thinking, oh, well, there might be the odd scuffle up here, the odd scuffle there, but nothing serious. And there might be people that have died in this stadium this evening. It sickens me, Peter. Honestly, I'm not joking you. I can't say it. It's horrible.
Well, it's awful. The police forces, in the meantime, have now closed ranks, and the officer in charge, with a very hefty-looking baton, is now asking for more reinforcements to join in. And this is war correspondence stuff here. This has nothing to do with one of the greatest games in the world. It has nothing to do with the European Cup final, as those horses, now led by the officer in charge, begin to canter down the athletics track away to our right. And I may say that to the right, still bathed in sunshine on a marvellous Brussels evening, is what it should have been. Away to our right, the massed ranks of Juventus supporters, and apart from 2 sporadic outbursts when about a couple of dozen decided to run down the track and perhaps take on the Liverpool supporters away to our left, I think that's a big irony too, Emlyn. That's the great Liverpool song, You'll Never Walk Alone, but that was sung for the right reasons. It's not being sung for the right reasons now.
It's awful. It's awful, Peter. I mean, we don't know about these reports, if they are confirmed, if people have died. But say people were to have died in this stadium tonight through being crushed, through being stabbed, through being whatever. Say people would have died here this evening. I mean, does the game go on or doesn't the game go on? If it doesn't go on, then what do we do with 56,000 people that are in this stadium? If it does go on, is it the right thing to do? Is it the right thing now to play a game if people have died? I don't know. I wouldn't like to be the one to make the decision.
Well, away to our left now, the Liverpool supporters, feeling that they've shown their strength, are waving their flags, and because of that, of course, it exacerbates the situation. Away to our right, it's the black and white flags of Juventus. It's almost as if they're drawing up battle lines now to face each other. And in fact, my colleague Mike Ingham has just come back to join us, and they have some news. Mike?
Peter, there is as much activity outside the stadium as there is inside the stadium. Terribly depressing, sad sight, fleet of ambulances ferrying people to hospital. I've been talking to journalists from Italy who are weeping buckets. I mean, they are so distressed, particularly because it appears that all the casualties, or most of the casualties, were Italians, because apparently what happened was that when the Liverpool supporters away to our left made a charge, a wall collapsed, and the people underneath that wall got the brunt of the debris, and certainly there have been lives lost. They're talking at the moment of around possibly 15 people.
That's the very latest news of the most awful piece of news then from Mike Ingham, who's been, as you heard, behind the stadium. What can you say on a night like this? What can you say? And now really it seems a million miles away from football. We don't want to talk about football. We don't want to talk certainly about 2 great teams. It just occurred to me, Emlyn, that this morning, as a total contrast, Liverpool players in their final training session, and you joined in like the Emlyn Hughes of old, and players were smiling and laughing and saying, we'll give it a go tonight, and we're going to try and do it for Joe Fagan. That now seems, Emlyn, a million miles away from this.
That this morning, Peter, has nothing at all to do with what's going on here now. I mean, from the right-hand side now, where we see there's more people breaking on again, and we're due to start the European Cup final of 1985 in less than 4 minutes, which is impossible. It cannot start. There is no way that the game can go on at this moment. So what do? Do we just keep people here with no sort of order at all? Do we just keep them waiting and waiting and waiting? I mean, it's a time bomb just waiting to fuse, and I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what we're going to do, Peter, about the element that's in football, the lunatics, the organised gangs that want to start fights. And I've gone on record of trying to say, you know, there's no way that more barriers and more police can combat a person who wants to stab somebody. You can't combat that person. The only thing you can hope to do is to keep him out of the stadium. And I mean, what do we do? What is the answer? What is the answer to people who want to put other people in jeopardy of their lives? I mean, it's not on. It's a thing that's foreign to everything. It's foreign to the 99% of the decent people that are in England. They don't want to see scenes like this. They don't want to see people being crushed to death. They don't want to see stretchers on the pitch. They don't want to see ambulance men rushing and fighting and scratching and pulling to pull people out of bodies and out of people scrambling over the top of people. We're in a sad state, Peter. And until somebody does something and says, right, that is it, it's closed down, and we might tonight, Peter, have witnessed the end of English football in Europe. I'm telling you, we might have done, because it's terrible, it's disgraceful.
And amidst all the mayhem and the awfulness and the sadness, Emlyn, as you were talking there, perhaps one of the biggest ironies away to our right is that a large number of injured people in wheelchairs were given special seats always here in the stadium, and they were sitting peacefully down there to our right. People, in fact, who are disabled, people, in fact, who were given free places here tonight, people for whom tonight was going to be a great night of football, and those same wheelchairs have now had to be wheeled out towards the touchline to keep them out of danger. Surely to God they've suffered enough in their own lives, and yet they've had to be taken away from their seats, and they sit down there bewildered and bemused and frightened in those wheelchairs, because the place around them is full of cold violence. God, oh God.
What do we do, Peter? What do we do? I took my little boy this time last summer. I took him over to France, and we saw England play France in the stadium over there. And I was actually sat where the mindless idiots again were ripping up seats and hitting policemen and belting other people, just sat watching the game. They weren't interested in watching football. They were interested in causing violence and causing trouble. And my little boy is looking at me and he's saying, Dad, what's going on? Now that little boy of mine and your boy and 90% of these people in here that have children, can they allow their children to go to football matches? They can't. I can't allow my boy to go to a football match. And if you can't do that, football as a game is finished, because the hooligans have won, and they cannot be allowed to win. They cannot be allowed to rule our game that we've given to the world.
Well, just about this time, it's 14.5 minutes past 8 here in Brussels, and just about this time I was hoping to say to you, there goes the whistle to start the 1985 European Cup. I wanted to say this is the biggest prize in Europe. I wanted to say Liverpool are going for their 5th cup. I wanted to say Juventus are probably one of the most talented sides in the world. And I wanted to say this could be perhaps one of the greatest European Cup finals ever. I cannot say any of that now, but what I can say for any new listeners who I know are joining us all the time, what I can say is that tonight here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, we've had one of the worst, if not the worst, riots in the scarred and tattered history of hooliganism at football grounds. We've had a report that 15 people have been killed here tonight. The Brussels police report that at least 15 when a wall collapsed, when a whole sea of Liverpool supporters, so-called, attacked Juventus supporters. More than 100 Italian supporters have been taken to hospital, some with serious injuries. And looking out on this beautiful stadium here, I am not looking at one team in red and another team in the famous black and white stripes of Juventus. I'm not looking at that at all. I am looking at 24 police horses and the policemen with batons and visors. And again, they canter down looking like battle lines of warrior groups and tribes. That has nothing to do with two great European football teams. Away to our left, where all the trouble began, we've still got now at least 100 police standing in front of that bank of Liverpool supporters, rather like, I think, guardians at a zoo, holding back the wild animals, because that's how some of them behaved an hour ago here in the Heysel Stadium. Away to our right, the Juventus supporters. We haven't had too much bother, I think, so far from them, but you can be certain, I think, the frustration now is growing and growing. And as Emlyn Hughes was saying a short time ago, there's almost a smell here of fear in the air, and that violence is likely to break out at any moment. Clearly the match will not start on time, and we now must have serious doubts as to whether this cup final will go ahead tonight, and indeed whether it will go ahead at all, whether it will be allowed to be. Death here, serious injury, violence, and using Emlyn Hughes' word on a night like this so far, Emlyn, football has died and the hooligans have won.
They've won, and that's the sad part. They've won because even if the game does go ahead now, they've won because they've delayed the start. People have died in a stadium where they've come along for a great night, probably their greatest night. It's their team that are here playing in the European Cup final. They might have saved up for months and years, thinking that I'm going to come here and watch Juventus win the Cup, I'm going to come here and watch Liverpool win the Cup, but most of all I'm going to come here because I'm a football supporter, and all I want to do is to be left alone to watch the team that I support win a title, win a trophy, play attractive football. And what have we seen? We've seen violence, we've seen crowds surging one crowd, another fighting back against others, we've seen police charging people, we've seen people charging police, we've seen ambulance men diving in amongst people littered on the floor. We've seen everything that is not anything at all to do with football. And it sickens me, Peter. It sickens me in the pit of my stomach. It sickens me awful.
Away to our left then, the police still stand, and I've just been passed an unconfirmed report that the death toll has now risen to 28 here in the Heysel Stadium. That is an unconfirmed report, but again it would not surprise me, because for 15 minutes it was war here, no other word for it. Now the scene at the moment is that opposite us in the huge stand, people have sat there quietly because they were coming here 2 hours before the start, and they've sat there dumbfounded and horrified. Away to our left, about 2/3 of the huge enclosure is full of Liverpool supporters. Then the third, where the Juventus supporters were and from which they fled in terror, it now has, I would think, perhaps 600 or 700 Liverpool supporters dotted around that area, but we can still see the grey steps, and we can still see the gaping hole through which some of the supporters plunge down onto the running track away from those marauding supporters. In front of that enclosure to our left, we've got some 5 or 6 dozen police with riot shields standing in front of that bank. The police below us, 25 in number, still sit there on their horses, motionless now. Other armed police are coming in away to our left. To our right, we've also got riot police. On the touchline below us, we've got that desperately sad sight of invalids in wheelchairs just shaking their heads. I see one of them down there with his head in his hands in tears. They can't believe it. I was about to say, Emlyn, we can't believe it, but somehow we can, because this has been a black cloud that's got bigger and blacker and more ugly and more violent. Dumbfounded maybe, horrified maybe, but I think not perhaps surprised.
The thing that sickened me, Peter, the worst sight of all was when they were stampeding, the blind panic of people trying to save themselves from being belted, from being I don't know, stabbed, whatever, running into a gap that wasn't big enough to take 20 people, and there was probably 300, 400 people trying to get through that gap. And then when it was all over, the people having to go back to see if the friends were there, looking for the friends on the pitch, saying, you could see them saying, have you seen so-and-so? How about when they met up with each other, you know, hugging each other that they were alive? And then the other ones still looking around and not finding their friends. Their friends might be one of the person that have died this evening. It's a terrible thing, Peter, and it's ruined Liverpool's reputation forever and ever and ever. I mean, England's reputation is poor anyway, but Liverpool's reputation has been a shining light in an otherwise disastrous area. And their reputation this evening has been tarnished probably forever.
Well, we've had two of the ugliest scars that football could ever really have had to put up with. We had the terrible, terrible fire at Bradford City just a few weeks ago, and the awfulness of that, I know, numbed so many people. People who saw those scenes on the television said they would never, never, never forget those scenes of sheer terror and people blindly running away from death. Well, we've got it here again, but for quite different reasons here. Death has cast its shadow over the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, a stadium that has seen so many great sporting moments and should surely have seen that tonight. It's been death here, and awfulness, and violence, and sheer terror. And you simply sit here, Emlyn, and as you say, it could well be the end of English football abroad.
It could easily be the end of English football. And what do? Do we turn around and moan and groan and say, oh no, give us another chance? How many chances do we want? How many cities can we go into and terrorise? You know, what do we do about it? People are still being pulled out now. Still things being wrapped around people now. An hour after it finished. You know, I'm sick. Absolutely sick that football, when I played, it was a game of joy and people going along. I'm talking about when I was a kid supporting and playing football. A joy to go along to football matches. To go with your father, and your father let you go in the Kop and him go and stand with his mates in the main stand and be allowed to have a couple of drinks, and you walk and meet your father at the bus stop afterwards and get on the bus together and go back home after a great day out. You've seen your team play, you may well have seen them win, you may well have seen them draw, but at least you've seen your team. You've walked with your father to the game and walked back home with your father to the game. Some of these people here today won't be able to see that. Some of the fathers won't see their sons here again today, because some of them will have died.
Well, again, there is no sort of order here in the chaos. There aren't quite as many people now on the pitch. They're in fact round the touchlines. But again, there are sporadic moments. I saw a moment ago way there to the left as Emlyn was speaking. It looked to me as if it was a flag being burned. And they really are still battle lines drawn up here. Liverpool to the left, Juventus away to the right. And we, of course, are in an international press box here. And reporters are a hardened race. Reporters tend to have seen an awful lot in their time. And they literally, around me, are shaking their heads. I may say one of them came up a moment ago and said to me, if this is what English football is about, I will never, ever, ever come to watch football in England again. Who can blame him? All we can do is sit here and say, well, what can you say? Except it's shame and shame and shame. And no more so than to the former captain of Liverpool. And I know tonight he's as moved as anybody could possibly be.
Awful. Terrible. I mean, we've said it now for the last 20 minutes. You know, you just keep repeating yourself how awful it is to be sat up here, to be witness to the scenes that have gone on. You see just people now still being pulled out. One holding his arm there. Looks as though he's got a broken arm. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful, Peter, but you know, we've put ourselves, we've kidded ourselves back at home that it's not really too bad, and we've put up with things that have happened at home. We've put up with a stabbing. We've put up with somebody being a dart in his eye. We've put up with somebody else losing a finger because somebody slashed him as he's ran past. We've put up with that, and we've said, no, it might go away. Peter, it won't go away. The hooligans are here. We have got to start combating them. And how we do it, I don't know. But it's certainly not by more police, and it is certainly not by erecting more fences. They are food and drink to an idiot, and they will pull every fence down. And if a policeman's there, he'll fight a policeman. If there's 10 policemen there, they'll fight 10 policemen. If there's 110, they'll fight 110. I don't know what we do about it, Peter.
Well, the main source of trouble still seems to be away to our left, in the left-hand corner where it all started. That's where most of the police are now massed. More police, in fact, have just come across to that barrier, and they are hurrying and scurrying here and there. And the awful thing here is that once you see somebody running, you can only think of one thing, and that's violence. People are not running here for joy as they should have been. They're running to get away from terror, away from violence. Away to our right, there now seems to be a little bit of, I think, a spot of bother too with the Juventus players. What a silly phrase that was, a spot of bother. And yet somehow, one used to be able to use this at football grounds, a little bit of bother. Tonight, well,
30 deaths.
An unconfirmed report of 28 people killed. In fact, an Italian journalist has just come up in front of me and suggests that it's now 30, I think, who may well have been killed. We must confirm that for you. And certainly well over 100 have been taken to hospital, seriously injured. Away to our right, there certainly seems to be a little unrest now among the Juventus supporters. As I was saying earlier, there hasn't been too much trouble from them, apart from a couple of sporadic outbursts when they ran along the athletics track to try and take on the Liverpool supporters to our left. That's been calmed down. And I understand from a Red Cross source that it's the minimum of 30 people who have died here tonight in the Heysel Stadium. And I've just had a report that UEFA are meeting at this moment in the committee rooms downstairs to decide whether this game will go ahead. I don't think there is a prayer that this game will go ahead tonight. I'm just thinking rather sadly, Emlyn, we were talking about the game just 10 minutes before the violence erupted. And we've got something written down here that if Liverpool had won, it would have given them their 7th European title in 13 seasons and their 5th in the European Cup in 9 seasons. That's what we were supposed to be talking about here.
That's right.
And we're talking about at least 30 people killed.
Yes, I mean, see, the thing is now there's a couple of Juventus players just run out now to try and control their fans over that end. 2 of the Juventus players have just run out now, trying to push their players back in. Number three, whoever that is, Cabrini, he's there, and there's another player that's lost from us at the moment. And number 8, which is Tardelli, they've run out. 2 of their experienced pros that have been at Juventus for a long, long time. They've run out, tried to get them back. But listen, Peter, if you for a meeting downstairs now, and they turn around and say, right, the game doesn't go ahead, what do we do with 56,000 people bent on even more death? Because that's what it will be. In fact, the whole Juventus team has just come out now. They're all down there. What do we do, Peter? If you for turn around and say, look, that's it, the game can't go ahead, we've had the deaths, we've had the trouble, we're frightened that if something happens, if one team wins on the pitch, then there might be more trouble. But even worse, Peter, if the game doesn't go ahead, what do we do with 56,000 fans walking through the town of Brussels tonight? There will be hell, there will be destruction in there this evening. I'll tell you what, I won't be moving out of my hotel 1 ounce this evening, not even going out for a breath of fresh air.
That's a frightening thought, certainly. And again, an amazing scene now to our right, that the whole Juventus team are out there, obviously pleading with their own fans. They're out in their famous black and white strip. Rossi and Platini, twice European Footballer of the Year. They seem extraneous facts and figures now, nonsensical figures that don't matter one jot here in Brussels. But at least they're trying desperately. But they're surrounded by, I would have thought, 300 or 400 fans who, of course, want to adore their players. They do that more in Italy than anywhere else. So the Juventus team are trying with their supporters. About 25 minutes ago, Joe Fagan, a sad figure, came out all on his own to plead with the Liverpool supporters away to our left. Joe Fagan has done his best, and now the whole Juventus team are trying to calm their fans down away to our right. The players themselves doing what they can in really what is now a cage of violence. And again, those Liverpool banners that we've seen around the world so often, they don't seem to matter anymore, saying that Liverpool are the greatest. Well, certainly they've proved they're one of the greatest sides in Europe. They've had nothing but success and prizes. They've had nothing but joy and success of Liverpool over the years. This season, by their own high standards, perhaps not quite as good, and yet when you say that, here they are, expecting to play in the European Cup final. They were the FA Cup semi-finalists, and they finished runners-up in the hardest league in the world. That's what we should be talking about here. Well, we'll see whether the Juventus team, who are still down there engulfed in that whole enormous posse of Juventus supporters, we'll see whether they can do anything about it. But as we reported a moment ago, UEFA are meeting at this moment, and if you're talking about at least 30 people killed, there is no way, in my mind, that this game could go on here in Brussels tonight. And yet, to repeat the fear that quite rightly Emlyn Hughes mentioned a moment ago, how can you tell 56,000 people who've already witnessed violence? The trouble is, I mean, they probably don't know how serious it all was.
No, they don't. They don't realise. I mean, the average fan who is 50, 80, 100 yards away from the scenes of destruction down here, they won't realise that people have died. But, Peter, it will be filtering round the ground that there are deaths. And before long, I mean, they've got to make a decision, whatever way it is. UEFA have got to make a decision and make it very, very quickly. Because if they leave it any longer and the players don't come out, the place is going to erupt. And if they don't make a decision to say the game is cancelled, then it's going to be even worse, because we've got 56,000 people in here, Peter, and there's violence in the air. You can smell it, you can sniff it.
Well, the Juventus players are now, I think, moving away to our right. And for any new listeners, let me tell you, it is 33 minutes past 8 here in Brussels on a beautiful spring evening. And we should be reporting now on what's happened in the first 18 minutes of the 1985 European Cup final between Liverpool, the European Cup holders, and one of the great sides of Europe, Juventus. Sadly and tragically, we are not reporting on a football match. We are reporting here on a war, because some half an hour, three-quarters of an hour before the match was due to start, there was a violent eruption away to our left as Liverpool supporters charged into a group of Juventus supporters. They in turn fled in terror. Fences crashed down on the athletics running track. Since then, we have reports that more than 30 people have been killed here tonight. A wall collapsing as the Liverpool supporters charged into the Juventus supporters. More than 100 people, many seriously injured, have been carried away to hospital. Here it is a fleet of ambulances and Red Cross men and doctors and nurses and mounted policemen with visors and mounted policemen with sticks, and everywhere it is now a battlefield. And we also can report that at this very moment UEFA are meeting downstairs in the committee rooms to decide whether the European Cup final, which now seems to me totally insignificant. I think Emlyn thinks the game will be played.
Well, we've just heard now, there's just been an announcement that they're going to try and start the game as soon as possible. But as we said, Peter, and as you so rightly said, I mean, if there have been 30 deaths in this stadium tonight, I don't think the game should be played. But on the other hand, what do we do with 56,000 people? If it's not played, how in God's name do we shepherd 56,000 people out of this stadium when they've seen no game? How do we keep them apart? How do we keep the Liverpool apart from the Juventus? Oh, it's very sad night, Peter, very sad night.
So that's the awful news then that we give new listeners here to our European Cup soccer special. Nothing to do with soccer. I must say I've followed the game for many years. I've seen some great moments. There's been joy and there's been heartbreak and there's been success and there's been fun and laughter too. And somehow Borussia Mönchengladbach, Emlyn, back in 77, that great night in Rome, it was all to do with skill and tenacity and character and sportsmanship. And you carried the European Cup that night.
That's right, Peter. It seems Mönchengladbach in Rome 77 seems 200 years away. It seems light years away from what we've witnessed here. But as I was saying earlier, Peter, we've kidded ourselves at home that things are not as bad as they are. When people stab somebody, that is awful. When people riot on football grounds and rip seats up and go and slash old ladies in the street and smash windows for the fun of it, turn over cars, we're kidding ourselves that them things don't really happen. They are a forerunner of the next thing. And I went on television only last week, 10 days ago, and I turned around and said the next thing that we're going to have is somebody's going to run on the pitch and stab a player, and a player's going to die in the front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching that game. And Peter, that is not beyond the rounds of possibility tonight. I mean, something could happen. Yeah. If this game starts, which it is due now, it is going to start. I mean, what happens if somebody runs on the pitch now, Peter, and goes for one of the players? If Liverpool score and they riot from the Juventus end, or if Juventus score and Liverpool riot from that end, what's going to happen, Peter? I don't know. Consequences could be terrible. The consequences are already terrible. I mean, they're already disgraceful, but it could be even worse.
Yes, just to underline that, and I must say, over the last couple of years, it's all the travelling I do, certainly in my business. Whenever you now sit, if you're unfortunate enough to do so, with young football supporters, they don't talk about the things that perhaps you and I used to. They don't talk about who scored the goal. They don't talk about who played well. They don't talk about who they're going to play next week. They talk about the policemen they were able to hit, or they talk about the fans they waited for behind the stands and gave them a good seeing to. And what they say is, next week, of course, we're going to do in so-and-so. I heard that only 3 weeks ago. I went to a certain ground, and there was a certain London club, and I got nothing but that sort of talk. All right, so people say, well, they don't really mean that, of course. It's all good youthful exuberance. We've seen what youthful exuberance has done here tonight, and as you said, and as people have been cautioning for long enough, now we've seen death. How much more do they want?
How much more do they want, Peter? How much more can we take as a nation that gave football to the world? We were the forerunners of football. We had the first clubs. We won this, we won that, and we brought the game to everybody else. Now, Peter, I wouldn't complain, and England couldn't complain, if we were banned from ever playing football outside of our country again. Because how can Brussels, how can Hamburg, if they stage the next one, how can so-and-so, Madrid, if they stage the next one, how can they allow this to happen to their country? Because it's not Liverpool and it's not Juventus, it's happened in Brussels. Death has occurred at Brussels, it's occurred in their country. Okay, it's Liverpool and Juventus that have been there, it's their supporters that have done it, but it's in their country. Fancy it coming over to England and in any other sport and coming over, and 30 deaths occurred at a stadium in whatever sport. Would we as a nation allow that sport again to come back to that country? I'm damn sure we wouldn't. And I wouldn't blame UEFA, I wouldn't blame the World Football Association, I wouldn't blame anybody if we weren't allowed to go anywhere again, because we cannot be allowed to go and cause destruction in other people's cities. That's awful.
We got into the ground about an hour before the kickoff, and the first impression was that there were a lot of Liverpool fans and a lot of Juventus fans. There didn't seem to be any segregation, and looking around, it seems to be the only area where that's true. First sign of any trouble was a series of rockets coming over from the Liverpool fans. The Juve fans, it seemed to me, got irritated by that and started chanting and swearing. And then the few Liverpool fans that were in this section Y here, started to charge. But it didn't really get out of hand badly until the fence between this section and the section holding all the Liverpool standing supporters was ripped down by Liverpool fans. And then they started to find missiles with anything that they could find. The terrace thing's fairly loose there.
Sorry, who started to throw missiles?
Liverpool fans.
Yes.
The terrace thing's fairly loose.
What were these missiles?
I saw a lump of concrete the size of your hand. I saw Liverpool fans carrying metal stakes, it appeared, from perhaps the fencing or something at the back that had come loose. And, I mean, they were charging in. I mean, the police, I don't know what they could have done. They had to back off. They then tried to get the Juve fans out of the way because it seemed they were possibly in the minority at that situation. But then, of course, this is when they spilled over here and the deaths and terrible injuries occurred.
How aware are people actually down there of what's happened, though? The extent of what has happened?
Well, people up the back could see bodies covered up, plastic bags, and I saw a stretcher with an arm draping out the side. It's horrific. I've never seen anything like it before in my life, and I never want to see it again. I can't...
Thank you very much. I'm sorry that, like us all here, you've had to witness those scenes.
Yeah, it's horrific. I mean, I came over expecting to see a good game of football, and, I mean, you don't expect trouble from Liverpool fans. They've got such a good reputation. I was in the main square this morning, and there were fans for both clubs swapping scarves and hats. There was a wedding party, and both sets of fans were queuing up to have their pictures taken with them. They had a Juve hat on the bride and a Liverpool hat on the groom and scarves around them and all dancing.
All very different now. Very sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, there you are. That's the terribleness, and the young man alongside us has literally broken down in tears. As he said, he never wants to see that again, and must have been close to death himself, and he is now sobbing alongside us. And who could blame him? So we still wait to see when this match will start, and we wonder when it will start. The committee have decided that it will go ahead, perhaps the lesser of two evils, but we shall still wait to see whether two teams can cope with this situation. Seems quite amazing. Absolutely amazing and awful scenes of violence here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. There are unconfirmed police reports that 35 people have been killed and several hundred people have been carried away on stretchers to hospitals in and around Brussels. The violence erupted an hour before the game started when Liverpool supporters charged a group of Juventus supporters. They hurled missiles, including lumps of concrete and iron spikes. The Juventus supporters fled in terror through a small gate. An iron fence crashed onto the athletics track below. And since then, we've had scenes of mounted policemen, security guards, armed policemen, hundreds all over the pitch. The UEFA committee have said that they still hope to start this game. But here it is nothing but violence and awfulness. And Liverpool, who've had such a good reputation over the years and wanted to make it a great night, have really sunk their club to the lowest possible depth. 35 people have been killed here in Brussels. Several hundred people carried away, seriously injured. And this should have been the night of the European Cup final. One of the worst moments I've ever had, Emlyn, was back in 1972 when we were covering the Olympics in West Germany. And that was the Olympics, of course, that were clouded and darkened and vitiated by the terrorist attack on the Israeli athletes. I can remember that, and I'll live with it for the rest of my life. And I can remember the memorial service when it was all over, when it had to be decided whether the games would go ahead or not, and it was decided the games would go ahead. But I remember that sunny, windy morning in that lovely stadium in Munich when the service started. All they did, with 60, 70,000 people, totally silent, with the athletes all lined up in the middle of that stadium there, in total silence, they simply read out the names of the Israeli athletes who had died. It was certainly one of the most moving and at the same time awful moments of my coverage of sport. Just names that were mentioned, one after the other. That's all it was. Just the names of the young athletes who would never run again, never jump again, and never be young athletes again. Terrible. They won't read out names here, but death is here. And the awful thing is that most people out there are probably a bit frustrated that the game can't go on. They're saying, well, it's been a bit unpleasant, a bit violent, and they do not know what's happened. Listeners will know. People out there will know.
No. You know what must these reports now have been all over the world, and think of the man or the woman at home now who sat in front of their Italian television waiting, sat in front of the Italian radio waiting, and hearing that there's been 35 deaths, and their son or daughter or their two sons or their three sons have travelled over to support their team, to see their team win a European Cup final or compete in a European Cup final. And they're sat at home now, hearing that there's been 35 people dead. How must they be feeling? You know, they must be thinking, oh, please, God, don't let it be my son. Don't let somebody have died that we know, you know, a close relative, a son, a daughter, anything. They must feel absolutely terrible now.
Well, in the background, the public address system again appealing to the crowd. In the meantime, we've got more police now arrived on that running track to our left. There must be, I would have thought, something like 100 of them now with those protected visors and shields. And we've still got the police horses also behind the goal to our left. And it's almost since we've been here. I think as I came in tonight about 2 hours before the start, I remember saying to Emlyn, doesn't the pitch look good? Doesn't it look as if it's going to be a smashing night? How long ago was that, Emlyn? Sounds like yesterday.
That seems like 3 days ago, when we were talking about the game, when we were were talking about how we wanted Liverpool to play. And this was before we were on the air. You know, how we wanted the game to be played, how we wanted Liverpool to play, how we were looking forward to Liverpool winning the trophy and taking it home. And since we were speaking coming into the stadium, Peter, I mean, we've witnessed scenes that, you know, sicken you through, right from the bottom of your stomach right up to the top. You know, awful.
Well, we reported a short time ago that UEFA wants more police protection before the game will be allowed to start. And away to our right, that's the end where all the Juventus supporters are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there are 4 ranks of them. So there are something like 40 policemen now who've come in away to our right. They're making their way down the touchline far side from us, and they're going to link up with some 30 or 40 already lined up there. More police are just coming in down to our left. I see a police officer there organising them, and they look much more military style. And those policemen are now massed below us as well. And for the last half an hour, the mounted policemen have stood still, and they're waiting in a solid line, a solid wall there of protection and of security. But still, it's that left-hand corner which seems to be causing most of the problems. That's where most of the activity is taking place. It's now just after 9:10 here in Brussels. The match should have kicked off a little less than an hour ago. And we have no match here tonight to report on. And to repeat again that unconfirmed police reports of 35 deaths when a wall collapsed after the rioting, when Liverpool supporters charged at Juventus supporters. And again, whenever you hear a little rumble of noise, Emlyn, as you just did then, you quickly look to see what's going on.
You look round to whichever side it's coming from, because you're frightened that something's filtered round the ground, that, you know, something's happened, there's been deaths, and you're looking for people charging other people, hoping, oh, please, no, don't let that be happening again.
And away to our right, I see there are more spaces now on that far end where the Juventus supporters were. So they've obviously changed their positions, changed their seats. In fact, they're not seats because they're all standing there, but they've come away across the fences, clearly, because there's a broad band of empty steps now at the foot of that banking. The rest of the supporters are still there, but we've also seen how quickly they could come across the fences. And when we saw the ferocity of the attack an hour before the kickoff, well, an even policeman, I would have thought, seemed, well, having the most difficult job on earth, Emlyn.
I think what they're trying to do now, Peter, before they allow the game to even come out, before they allow the players to come out onto the pitch, is they're going to ring the stadium completely, inside the stadium, the running track. They're going to ring it with police, and I feel now that if they do that, then the game has got a chance of starting.
I think that's the only way they can do it. It's the only way I think, I mean, they could get anywhere near security, is literally having a steel ring, if that were possible, of police, mounted and otherwise, all the way around the stadium.
That's right, all the way around the stadium. And I mean, this isn't football, Peter, when you have to condition yourself to watching football through policemen's helmets and visors. It's something foreign to what we've been brought up on.
And as the minutes tick away, though, Emily, let's again cast our minds to the players. I mean, they have now been waiting over an hour. They should have come out on the pitch at 8:05. It's 9:15.
It's 9:15. It should just be starting the second half now.
Right, so what, again, going down to that dressing room, a dressing room that you know so well, of course, on these big occasions, what is Joe Fagan saying?
I don't know what he can be saying, Peter. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, the players have got to realise now that something major has gone on. Something has been really awful. But, I mean, what can he be saying? There's more police coming out to our right-hand side now. So we're just hoping now that eventually we can get this game underway. And the players will be sat in there thinking, what in God's name's going on out there?
Well, earlier we were speaking to a gentleman from London who was very much in the thick of the action. I've been joined by a young man from Holland who has actually, to his credit, limped all the way along here because you, sir, were injured, I think.
What did you say?
I think you were injured, weren't you, in the incident?
I was injured a little bit, but not much. My friends went to the hospital.
What was your view of exactly what happened?
Well, I think the Liverpool supporters broke down a piece of the tape between the two corners. And then, everything was a chaos. Everything was, everyone was in panic. Most Italian people tried to get out, but they couldn't.
We're just hearing, in fact, that the Liverpool captain, Phil Neal, who should have been playing tonight in his 5th final, is making an impassioned plea to the crowd to behave themselves.
Yeah.
I know that you feel that a lot of alcohol was drunk before this game, you were telling me.
Yeah, I've seen it before the stadium. Most people were, they were drunk.
How responsible do you think that was for what happened?
I can't tell. I wasn't in the corner of the English people, but I thought that most of the people were drunk.
There you are, another eyewitness, and in the background, as Mike Ingham was saying, the voice of Phil Neal appealing to the crowd. A few seconds ago, it was the voice of Gaetano Chirea, the captain of Juventus, but now there is certainly a lot of trouble away to our right where the Juventus supporters are. I see planks of wood being thrown down towards the police. There are a couple of firebombs as well, and incidentally our Dutch supporter now hobbles away with what looks like a really very unpleasant foot injury indeed. And the banner that was raised a moment ago with simply said Reds Animals has now been confiscated by the police, although I see at this moment, while it was lying there on the ground, Juventus supporters come down to rescue it. And again, it's tribal warfare now here. There are more and more police congregating in their white helmets away to our right. A couple more smoke bombs come down. And I think, in fact, Phil Neal, the Liverpool captain himself, is coming out on the pitch. If you were with us earlier, you'll hear that Joe Fagan tried his best. And now Phil Neal. And this was going to be one of his greatest nights, Emlyn. Phil Neal, at the age of 34, the captain. 7 league championship medals Phil's got, and one of the elite group of players who would have appeared in 5 finals or more. You know what a Liverpool man Phil Neal is. He's now going to try.
He's going to try, but, I mean, what can it mean? What can it mean? We're talking about people who are not willing to listen, not ready to listen, and I hope that the Juventus captain is going to go out on that side as well, and let's hope we can get something started, because we're just sat here in limbo. Let's hope that we can even get the game kicked off and the game finished without any further trouble, because if it is, I mean, the world of football is going completely crazy, completely and utterly crazy.
Phil Neal, the Liverpool captain, just below us. He's got 2 protectors alongside him. And there again is an ironical picture, because as Phil Neal walks past the ranks of policemen, a Liverpool supporter with a bloodied bandage around his head is carried away through an exit away to our right. So Phil Neal has tried. He's tried on the public address system. He's come out to talk to the fans, or at least to appeal to them. I don't think you can talk to them. Chirea, the Juventus captain, has done the same in Italian for the Juventus supporters, trying their best. But let's repeat again that 35 people have died here tonight after the violence that erupted an hour before the start of the game. Hundreds seriously injured, carried off to hospital. Well, what more can they do? I suppose both clubs have tried, and we're quite certain that UEFA have decreed the game should go on, simply to avoid anything that could be even worse, if that were possible, if the game were abandoned, and then, of course, the frustration would explode, surely, Emlyn.
Surely, yes, it would. I can see down in front of me Ian St John, who's doing commentary for one of the other radio stations, one of the Liverpool stations, and I just happened to sneak 2 seconds with Ian then while you were talking, and he's saying, you know, it's what's happened to Liverpool Football Club tonight might never ever be put right again. You know, and that's from I felt one of Liverpool's greatest ever players, and I learned more, I think, off Ian St John when I was with Liverpool Football Club than any other player, because Ian dropped back into midfield and taught me an awful lot of stuff that I learned of football knowledge, of football brain, when he dropped back into midfield after playing up front for so many years for Liverpool and being such a stalwart and playing in all their early success in the middle 60s when they won the League Cup League in 64, 65 and 66, and I was transferred there in 67, and as I say, Ian then just dropped back because his legs were starting to go a little bit, and he dropped back into midfield, and for 2 years I thought he was tremendous in helping structure the future of Emlyn Hughes as far as a Liverpool football player was concerned. And Ian's just turned around and said the same to me. What the hell has happened to Liverpool Football Club tonight? What is going to happen to Liverpool in the future? on what is going to happen to English football. I mean, what do we do? Where do we go from here?
Desi and St John, just away to our left there, is holding his chin in his hand there and just looking desperately sad about this situation. Such great players, of course, that Liverpool have produced over the years, and it'll hurt Liverpool players obviously more than anybody outside the club. Such a closely knit club, Liverpool. They've always done it the family way, with the great Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley and Joe Fagan, and it was Joe Fagan's going to be his last night, of course. And now at last the teams will take the pitch, and I wonder what's going to happen in the next 2 hours. But at least we've got footballers on the pitch. Phil Neal, but you see now what's happening, Emlyn. Liverpool are now being booed by every Italian supporter around us, and who can blame them? I think it's the players who are suffering.
Yes, what did we say? That there was going to be problems whichever way we went about. There was going to be problems, and I mean, it's just proved now that the Juventus people who were looking forward to this, were looking forward to this game as much as the Liverpool people were looking forward to it. They've booed the Liverpool team coming out with malice. They haven't booed them because it's the team they're not supporting. They've booed them because there's hate. There's hate in their hearts for Liverpool football club.
Liverpool will never ever have come out to that sort of noise before. And now there'll be shouts from the Juventus supporters as Juventus in those famous black and white stripes come out away to our right. So Juventus take the pitch. Liverpool are below us, and we've got 22 players on the pitch. But that pitch is surrounded by policemen and horses and dogs, and the time here in Brussels is nearly 20 to 10 in a match that should have started at 8:15, as more and more policemen come in below us, away to the left, and the players will line up, and alongside them will be the referee from Switzerland, Andre Dana. I don't think I would like to be the Swiss referee out there tonight, and really I simply cannot imagine what will happen when this game starts. Again, as we were saying, I suppose rather than face something that could be even more awful, then it's better to let the game go on. But even as I speak, more and more Juventus supporters are running away from a mass of police away to our right, for which there must now be a good 100 people. So before we start this game, and no matter what may happen in the next 2 hours, we have to start it with the saddest and most awful of curtain raisers, to tell you that because of rioting here by Liverpool supporters an hour before the kickoff, at least 35 people have been killed here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, mainly when a wall collapsed and a dividing barrier was trampled down. At least 100 or more people have been carried away to hospital, seriously injured. The UEFA committee met downstairs in the committee rooms and decided that this European Cup final will go ahead. Who would have thought that this match would be edged with black, the black of death? All right, let's just try for you. Let's just try to now report on the European Cup final of 1985, and to start the commentary, my colleague who's been doing very different things for the last hour, Mike Ingham.
This final was billed as the dream final. It is the nightmare final now. Juventus and Liverpool have exchanged pennants in the centre circle. Let us hope that the supporters had a good view of that, and let us hope that for the rest of this evening, this traumatic evening, the pennants will be exchanged by either side long after this match is finished. Juventus, we see, as we sit inside their half away to our left, are to attack the end, occupied by their own supporters away to our right. Liverpool away to our right. Let me run through the teams for you. Liverpool, full strength tonight, have Bruce Grobbelaar in the yellow jumper, getting a little feel of the ball on the centre circle in goal. Phil Neal, the captain, Mark Lawrenson, Alan Hansen and Jim Beglin in the back four. The midfield of Steve Nicol, John Walk and Ronnie Whelan, with Kenny Dalglish playing just behind the front two of Ian Rush and Paul Walsh. And it's Ian Rush standing over the ball at the moment. gets this 1985, this 30th European Cup final underway here in the Heysel Stadium. Mark Lawrenson midway inside his own half to Alan Hansen. We will try and watch the football for you, but at the same time, we're watching away to our right. 50 of the local constabulary at the moment trying to keep the Juventus supporters at bay as more smoke bombs and flares find their way onto the running track behind the goal away to our right. The Juventus team tonight has Stefano Tacconi in goal. The back four, Luciano Favero, Sergio Brio, the sweeper, Scirea the captain, Antonio Cabrini is the left back. In midfield, Marco Tardelli, Frenchman Michel Platini, who's just gone through there. First time we've seen him in these opening seconds of the game. Massimo Bonini and Ziggy Boniek, the Pole. And up front, Paolo Rossi and Massimo Briaschi. Those are the teams. Rush is inside the centre circle, inside his own half. Turns the ball to his right, to Paul Walsh. Walsh trying to get in. Luciano Favero is in quickly. And we see in these opening minutes that Favero is the man to mark Walsh. And Brio the man to look after Rush. It's a throw into Juventus, midway inside their half, over on the far side. Cut out by Mark Lawrenson. Lawrenson's having to play this back, and he's dispossessed momentarily there by Paolo Rossi. Grobbelaar is diving, comes out in the right full-back position and holds it. Has a good long look at the ball, throws it to his edge of the area to Phil Neal. Neal dribbling the ball out slowly, back to Grobbelaar again. 2 minutes gone here in the Heysel Stadium. The time here is 9:44. We should have got underway at 7:15. A lot of people will say that we shouldn't have got underway at all, but so many things had to be taken into account. What on earth would have happened with the 55,000 supporters here if this game had been called off? It's a free kick to Liverpool on the halfway line, and Kenny Dalglish, Britain's most experienced player in European competition, playing for the 80th time tonight, is having a word with the referee, and let's mention him. It's Andre Dana from Switzerland, and Andre Dana is coming across to the dugout, and Liverpool, sensationally, are making a substitution in these opening seconds of the first half. Mark Lawrenson, who's been out with a dislocated shoulder, has a shoulder problem and looks in pain. He's walking off, he's being replaced, Emlyn, by Gary Gillespie.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was always going to be a problem with Mark. He's had trouble with his shoulder for the last 6 or 8 weeks. He put it out in a training session, and I trained with Mark this morning, and I asked him how it was, and his exact words were to me, you know, Emlyn, it seems okay, but anything can happen. And anything has happened, and it's happened within inside 2 minutes. But to be truthful, the kid that they're bringing on, young Gary Gillespie, he's a good player, and he's in the Lawrenson mould. He's probably not as strong as Lawrenson is, but he's certainly a very, very good player.
So difficult for these players to concentrate and to relax on a game of football, of course, and Liverpool's task of retaining this European Cup then, despite what Emlyn was saying, obviously Gary Gillespie, a very capable defender, but Mark Lawrenson is renowned as one of the very best in the world, and they would have required his talent out there tonight. At the moment, Juventus are just inside the Liverpool half, 10 yards inside the half, over on the far side, which is their left. Juventus kicking from left to right here in Brussels. It's with Antonio Cabrini, their World Cup winner, the left back, stealing a little bit of ground he is, preparing to take the throw. Juventus in the familiar black and white stripes, the zebra strip. Liverpool in the all-red. Bonini, the fair-haired midfield player, trying to release Rossi. Platini goes down poleaxed, foul from behind, free kick to Juventus. This is 5 yards in, over on the far touchline. They play it short to this near side, to Boniek in the inside right position. Now Tardelli. Tardelli takes over and chips delicately into the penalty area. Platini gets through, but there's a pink flag up on this near side, signalling that the world's #1 player, Michel Platini, was just offside. But clearly Platini is the man who holds the key to this final, Emlyn.
Well, Juventus are a good side, as we've been saying all along. I think it's probably the most difficult of all the European games that they've played, the European Cup finals that they've played. We played Mönchengladbach in '77 when they were a good side. We then played Bruges, who froze on the night at Wembley. Then they played Real Madrid, which Real Madrid never played at all in the game. And then last year they played Rome in Rome, which was very, very hard. But Rome never played on the night. And as we know, it went to penalties. It wasn't a classic, but it did go to penalties. And I feel that this is going to be Liverpool's hardest game.
And this, remember, is also the last game of Joe Fagan's management at Anfield. He shocked the football world earlier today by saying that he would resign after this. And once again, Juventus pushing forward, dangerous on the counter. This time it's Paolo Rossi, their centre-forward, caught offside, and it really is a swan song for so many people here tonight. I've mentioned Joe Fagan. It's also farewell Juventus for Paolo Rossi as well. He's rumoured to be going to AC Milan to link up with Mark Hateley. So Paolo Rossi will want to finish with a flourish tonight here in the Heysel Stadium. Kenny Dalglish is fouled by Bonini, the midfield player, going through on Dalglish's ankles. So 15 yards inside the Juventus half. On this near side, the Liverpool left. It's a free kick. Andre Denar wanting the black and white striped Juventus players to retreat. Dalglish to take responsibility for this. He has Jim Beglin alongside him. Dalglish runs over the ball. Beglin takes it with the left foot, aiming for the far post. Steve Nicol is going in. The flag has gone up already. Liverpool caught offside.
You were saying, Mike, earlier that you feel, as everybody feels, as 90% of the people feel, that the danger man will be Platini. But I've got a feeling Rossi will be the danger man because he's a big match player. He scores goals. He scores goals in big, important games.
Well, Platini over-elaborated there in the centre circle. Dalglish took it off him. Platini looked offended, but Andre Denar waved play on. But Juventus have got it back again, over on the far side, through Cabrini. Nice little bit of skill by Bonini in midfield, who really is a workhorse, Massimo Bonini, 25 years of age. Once again, the referee's whistle has gone, though. More ankle tapping, this time Liverpool the guilty parties. And it's a free kick to Juventus. 2 or 3 yards from the halfway line. It's with Platini in the centre circle. Little chip from Platini doesn't quite work, and Gary Gillespie's there for perhaps his first touch. The number 14 on his back. Gillespie coming on after only 2.5 minutes of this European Cup final. Mark Lawrenson, who's been out of action for several weeks with a dislocated shoulder. He came back and had a workout in a match last weekend. Everything seemed to be okay for him, but it's let him down here tonight. And it's 0-0 after 7 minutes here, and the whistle has gone again, this time a foul on Ian Rush. And clearly Liverpool's Juventus see Ian Rush as the principal threat tonight. They've got big Sergio Brio at the heart of the Juventus back four, the mighty stopper looking after Rush. It's Phil Neal with a free kick. Sharea heads it away to this near side. Is that a corner? No, it's not. Goalkeeper Stefano Tacconi appealing for the goal kick, and he's won it and takes it from a ridiculous place. He takes it almost from the edge of his penalty area. That'll have to go back. And in the end, it's Sharea, 32-year-old captain, with it. To this near side, Tardelli. Trouble here for Juventus. Bonini's path to goal is closed off by Dalglish, and that's very casual. Liverpool pick it up. Kenny Dalglish on the left wing. Through ball for Whelan, doesn't quite work. Paul Walsh is still scrapping in the right back position. Juventus get it away. Rossi tangling with Gillespie, and it breaks rather fortuitously for Boniek. Still Boniek, strong runner Boniek. The man who got those 2 goals in the European Super Cup final earlier in the year when these two clubs met, but that was on a very icy evening and bears no relation at all as far as tonight is concerned. Tardelli trying to go through on the blind side there, but the pass was too heavily weighted. Tardelli tried to take it on the head, but couldn't control it. And Liverpool bring it away slowly now through Alan Hansen, and even more responsibility surely now on Alan Hansen's shoulders, playing in his 4th final, Emlyn.
That's right, yes, Alan has always appeared to be a very casual player, but he's got better and better and better as his Liverpool career has progressed. But these aren't a bad side, these, I'm telling you. Juventus are a good side. They've started off very, very well. They look very, very quick, very, very sharp. And it's going to be a tester for the boys tonight. Not only with all the problems off the field, it's going to be a tester on the field.
Everything appeared to be set fair here for a super match, the 30th final. Beautiful day here in Brussels. The skies are still clear. 2 of the most gifted sides in the world, a who's who, veritable who's who of world football. But it's been ruined, of course, by everything that happened here before the match. The match, though, is continuing. There's still a very big prize at stake. And Juventus seeking this trophy for the very first time in their history. At the moment, drawing 0-0 with the holders Liverpool, and we have played 10 minutes. It's with Paolo Rossi, Italy's World Cup hero in Spain, deep inside his own half and trying to get round Jim Beglin, but Beglin is not letting him through. And still Rossi holds it, and the Juventus supporters get frustrated and impatient with him. In the end, he has to play it back 25 yards. to Shiraya. Chance for Tardelli to try and release Rossi on this near side, but Fagan started well, showing good composure. He made his European debut in a semi-final, and now 2 games later, here he is playing in the final itself. Liverpool, remember, will keep this trophy tonight if they win it, having won it twice under Emlyn Hughes' captaincy in the 70s, and of course twice already in the 80s as well. Liverpool bring it forward slowly from the back. Gary Gillespie, tall, angular man, drifting now through the centre circle. Bad ball from him though, terrible ball, straight to Rossi. Rossi looks up, looks to see who's there. Boniek was there, but he couldn't find him. And Fagan covering in the left-back position again. Plays it short to Ronnie Whelan.
All the problems we had before the game, Mike, what a good start it's been. I mean, Liverpool have probed and they've had a little check of a few things, and Juventus exactly the same. They've had a little sniff of what's going on, and it looks as though it'll be a cracker. And there won't be any quarter or asked or given on this pitch tonight. That is a guaranteed certainty.
And Marco Tardelli, who has a fearsome reputation as a tackler, has just brought down Paul Walsh away to our left, just 10 yards from the Liverpool corner flag on this near side, and that is, no question about it, a free kick. 15 yards from the goal. Ronnie Whelan is there, and so too is Jim Fagan. There's a wall of 2 Juventus players confronting him, and every other black and white stripe is back inside the penalty area. Whelan lets Fagan take it straight to Platini's feet. Platini, rather inelegantly, just hooks it up into the air and follows the ball into touch. Liverpool take the throw in quickly. Whelan to Nicol. Little bit tight for Kenny Dalglish. Edge of the area. Does well though to find Steve Nicol. Nicol trying to get a first-time cross in. Plays it off Shiraya. Liverpool though got the final touch, and that's a goal kick to Juventus. And let's mention the goalkeeper who's just knocking it sideways, Stefano Tocconi. 3 weeks ago he wasn't in this Juventus side, but the number 1 choice lost form alarmingly, particularly in the semi-final. So that's why Tocconi, who won a Cup Winners' Cup medal last year against Porto, is playing. Juventus now through Platini to Boniek on the right wing, just down in front of us as we sit inside the Juventus half. Juventus playing it a little bit too tight at the moment, and Tardelli was put in a lot of trouble there by Boniek. Liverpool though have fouled him, Ronnie Whelan the culprit, and it's a free kick, and Michel Platini always wants to take the free kicks, doesn't waste any time about that either, bangs it straight into the Liverpool penalty area away to our right. An easy one though for Grobbelaar to take. Finds Neil, and now Steve Nicol, 5 yards in on the Liverpool right, the far side, still Steve Nicol. Long ball for Walsh to chase, and he will do as well because he's a game player, Paul Walsh. He's trying to turn, and Favero has gone across the marker. Still Walsh. Oh, he runs out of space though, and Cabrini fills that space and ploughs forward as he loves to do for Juventus. Strong runner, Cabrini. First time ball for Boniek. Gillespie's there though, winning an important tackle for Liverpool. Whistle gone again, another free kick to Juventus, and Emlyn, clearly these two sides showing enormous respect for one another, particularly in midfield.
Yes, very, very much so. It's as I said earlier, it's 2 good teams out there tonight, 2 very, very good teams, and
Platini has played almost a gorgeous ball over to this near side, but it was just a little bit too far in front of Tardelli. But what vision seeing Tardelli in space, but sadly for Juventus it was just slightly overhit, and Liverpool have taken the throw already in the left back position. Fagan holding, plays a 1-2 with Whelan, goes down his line Fagan, but doesn't get the return because in there is Briaschi fighting for Juventus, and Juventus have got the decision from the linesman on this near side. They've got themselves a free kick 8 or 9 yards in on the right. Rossi's there, and so too is his fellow striker Briaschi. Italian crowd away to our right, pump the horns, wave the flags, and get behind the team here. Rossi retreats, goes into the penalty area. Free kick is taken by Briaschi. Platini tries to knock it down, Liverpool get it away, only as far as Shiraya, edge of the area. Shiraya looks to his left, and Cabrini is there. All international build-up this so far from Juventus. Fagan, half a clearance from him. Russia's marooned really on his own, and it takes some brave support work now from Dalglish down this near side, the Liverpool left. Dalglish goes back to Fagan, and this is a good patient build-up now by Liverpool, countering well. Whelan and Dalglish in harmony again. Midway inside the Juventus half, inside left position, Dalglish trying to get a ball through for John Walk, and that's really the first time that we've seen Liverpool arrowing a ball through for John Walk, who's made a quietish start, to say the least, Emlyn.
Yes, it's a game really that they're just feeling out each other, as I said a couple of minutes ago, and 2 very, very good teams. I mean, Juventus do look a bit sharp. They look as though they're on form right from the first second, and they've got 2 or 3 quick players that might well cause a few problems.
They've got themselves another free kick. This one is 8 or 9 yards inside the Liverpool half, and they've taken it quickly. Boniek, Rossi's feet, Bonini, Now Platini, it's all going through Platini at the moment. Over to the left now to Boniek. Almost a good ball to Rossi in space, but Dalglish read it, but Juventus pick it up again. Platini, almost a superb release ball through for Rossi, but Liverpool at the moment are closing down well at the edge of their own area, and Hansen's already made 35 yards, got himself into the Juventus half, picked up Steve Nicol on the right. Nicol now drifts in field, got Platini to beat, goes along the floor, flat ball to Rush, back to Dalglish now, 25 yards from goal. Dalglish plays it quickly, Walk tries to lay it off into Walsh's path, and Walk gets a second chance, and that's the first Liverpool effort really at goal. John Walk just 10 yards wide of Tacconi's left-hand post. He had to hit it quickly.
It was a good effort, actually. Kenny's played a ball in. John Walk's tried to play it back to him. It's bounced up off one of their defenders, and John's just turned around and hit it first time and done ever so well. It only just went wide a couple of yards.
Liverpool are back in business again because of a weak goal kick by Tacconi. And it's through Phil Neal, the captain. Neal has got Nicol wide on the right. Nicol checks, then swings one in on his left foot. Tacconi's there, and Tacconi elegantly holds it, diving to his right in the all-maroon outfit that he's wearing, taking it away from Ian Rush, and then picking up Tardelli just down below us on this near side. Tardelli shows too much of the ball, though, to Ian Rush. A lot of people were saying before this game that maybe Juventus might not have the temperament again for this occasion. They have a tendency to freeze sometimes in finals, but my word, what a test of temperament it's going to be for both sides, bearing in mind everything that's happened surrounding this fixture here this evening. A number of Italian, British supporters losing their lives when a barrier gave way away to our left. This game really only going ahead because of the 50,000 people inside the stadium and the fear of what might have happened had they called the game off. Tardelli 10 yards inside the Juventus half to Platini. Back with Tardelli again. Tardelli, a good little ball through to Bonini, wants to play it quickly with Boniek, well read by Hansen, who really has started gigantically well. The back of the Liverpool defence turns that ball to this near side. Juventus are in quickly again, though, through Brio and now through Chirea. Chirea, who'll be off to Mexico tomorrow to reinforce the Italian squad, who'll be playing England a week tomorrow. Briaschi, looked like a bad foul that by Ronnie Whelan over the ball. Briaschi and Whelan having a little bit of fun and games there. Referee allows play to go on, though.
It was a bad foul, all right, by the lad on Ronnie Whelan.
Can't understand why that was a throw-in, Emlyn. That looked like a free kick to me.
The lad's gone over the ball so high, it was unbelievable. And I heard an announcement before the game by Scarea saying that they were coming out to play the match, not because they wanted to win it, but because there was going to be problems if they didn't play, and they weren't interested in the result. I've just seen how interested they're not in it there. The lad's gone over he must have gone 10 yards in front of anybody else.
Little alarm there, but Juventus are caught offside with Rossi and Platini pushing forward. And Platini, the world's #1 player, European Man of the Year the last 2 years, will be retiring fairly soon because he's 30, of course, next birthday. But before he does retire, he wants to win this cup and he wants to win the World Cup as well. Having led France to the European Championship finals and a victory last year, France must be with a shout certainly in Mexico for the World Cup. Can Platini make it a European Cup medal as well here this evening? Well, we've played 18 minutes so far in Brussels. We're no nearer, though, yet knowing the identity of this season's champions. It's 0-0, and Steve Nichol's on the ball for Liverpool. Drifts it through to Paul Walsh, 10 yards from the Juventus penalty area. Good bit of work here from Paul Walsh. He's now turning it inside, headed away, though, by Brio. Walsh trying to regain it, and runs into a colleague, and Boniek going off on a sprint now. Phil Neal just seems to body check him slightly. Ball is running out of play over on the far side. Boniek is having a word with Andre Dana. I think he thought he was obstructed there. Not quite sure what Andre Dana has given there because he's not making very positive indications. It's going to be simply a Liverpool throw. 5 yards from the halfway line, on the right, the far side. Neal back to Gillespie, who's come on very early in this game as a substitute. Mark Lawrenson having more problems with the shoulder that he dislocated. Alan Hansen looks up and picks out Rush with a lovely 25-yard ball. Rush to Nicol. Walsh runs over it. Now Walk has found Nicol, right edge of the area. Nicol is taking on Chirea, and he's round Chirea. Gets the cross in. Rush is lurking edge of the area, but he can't find him. There are 4 Juventus players back to get it away to Cabrini on the far side, but they just overplayed into Cabrini's path. And Liverpool and their supporters are making themselves heard now. Behind Kenny Dalglish, who has a throw-in midway inside the Juventus half, over on the far side there, right. Kenny Dalglish, who is the hot tip to succeed Joe Fagan, would you believe, as Liverpool's manager. Fagan His last match in charge tonight. Liverpool will be making an announcement about this apparently later in the week. Meanwhile, Walsh tries one, and there's Walsh again, foiled by Taccone. Diving this time to his left, he's dived left and right so far to make good saves. Can't fault Taccone in these opening 20 minutes. Sharp shooting from Paul Walsh. Nice to see, Emlyn.
Very, very nice to see. Paul's done quite well, actually. He's done a couple of good things, a couple of good turns. The thing that struck me is how tight the front lads are being marked. I mean, they're inside the shirts, and these lads won't take any prisoners at all, these Italians. They've already showed that they can leave a boot. There's two of them already gone over the top, and and one of them was so high it was unbelievable.
Platini with a little ball to Boniek. Nichols reading it though, and Boniek, I suppose, in a way must have been relieved to be playing in this game tonight, because apparently he's got to hot-foot it to Albania to play in a World Cup tie for Poland tomorrow, and all sorts of plans have been laid on for him. So he'll just be grateful to be playing this match tonight and then going to reinforce Poland's World Cup bid tomorrow against Albania. Here in Brussels, 0-0 after 21 minutes, almost the halfway point of this European Cup final between last year's champions of England and Italy. Juventus, known as the old lady, of course, backed by the millions and millions of lira of the Fiat company, a £10 million team, but they've never won the European Cup. A lot of people think this is their best chance as well now, against a Liverpool side who've gone through a season without a domestic honour. Liverpool's free kick. Phil Neal takes it to the left edge of the area. Tardelli is back, shadowing Walk all the way. The ball, though, has run out to this near side for a Liverpool corner, and that is going to be their first of the match. Liverpool's corner, as the flags and Union Jacks away to our left wave in unison for Kenny Dalglish to slot this ball up on the near side. Only Alan Hansen has stayed back, though Phil Neal is midway and offering himself. Dalglish takes the corner to the near post. Not a good one. But Favero, the right back, isn't taking any chances at all and just puts it away behind the cameraman. Cameramen on the near side for another Liverpool corner. Well, Dalglish went to the near post last time. This time a little bit more distance. Gillespie going in, but Taccone's handling is superb. And he has to go down at the feet second time of Gillespie to bravely save there. Taccone wanting a little bit of protection, he says, from referee Andre Dana. But certainly bravery and agility so far from the man who's having to carry the almighty mantle and responsibility of succeeding the great Dino Zoff in this Juventus goal. Approaching then the midway point of this first half here in Brussels. Liverpool 0, Juventus 0. It is very competitive. A lot of great respect between these two sides. We are trying to enjoy a game of football here. It is not easy. This has been the most difficult period of commentary, I think, and I expect I will ever have to do, bearing in mind everything that's happened here this evening. Peter Jones to take over.
The ball on the halfway line, the tall, dark-haired figure of Alan Hansen for Liverpool. Moves forward 10 yards, drops the ball wide, looking for some good running from Whelan. Checks his stride a yard from the goal line. He's going to have problems getting through there, and it's a bit tight to the far touchline. And the ball finally played back, and Juventus are making a bit of a meal of this, and then finally they clear. Ball still, though, deep inside their own half. 0-0 here in a European Cup final that will be marred forever by the violence and what virtually was the massacre beforehand. Juventus in control, though, at the moment. Boniek trying to find a way through the wall of red defenders to try and find Platini. Can't. Rush does well to come away from his marker, Brio. Turns the ball back. Dalglish is there. Moves inside the Juventus half. That's to our left. Slides a good ball through the gap to Walk. And in fact, it was Whelan who was pushed down there. And it'll be a free kick to Liverpool, a yard outside the Juventus penalty area.
I just saw Tardelli off the ball there, tried to cut Kenny. I mean, something awful. Terrible. He's played the ball, he's ran on, the referee's watched where the ball's gone, and he's come at Kenny and he's tried to slash Kenny somewhere around his middle. Kenny saw him coming and Kenny actually copped him, so I'm pleased for Kenny that he did, because the lad went for him something terrible.
So we wait for Dalglish to take the free kick, a yard outside the Juventus penalty area on the left as Liverpool look at it, and he takes it now, and it's all wrong. It swings about 5-6 yards wide, and indeed Kenny Dalglish holds his head in his hands. He can do very much better than that. 24.5 minutes gone here, and it's now just coming up to 10 here in Brussels with the European Cup final. I'm sure you'll have heard by now that it was marred by violence and awfulness and even death. Difficult to think in terms of football. But it's a very, very important game, it goes without saying, for two teams. The holders, Liverpool, and Juventus, have won so much but never won the European Cup. It's 0-0 here in Brussels. And there's surely Rossi putting the ball down with his upper arm, but the referee was unsighted, says play on. He's lost the ball in any case. Hansen. Again, Rush prepared to go for it bravely, but he was held off the ball. Platini, that shirt outside his shorts as always. Great player, Platini. Gets a free kick and takes it quickly. Finds Boniek and he's offside, says the linesman. And he has to come all the way back. Free kick then, which Liverpool's fullback Phil Neal will take, I think. But Phil Neal turns away and the ball will come all the way back to the halfway line.
There's a few hard lads out there, Peter, and Liverpool certainly won't be lacking as far as competitiveness is concerned. But if Juventus carry on leaving the feet, I mean, there's not only going to be riots, as we've seen on the thing, there's going to be riots out on the pitch as well, which would be terrible sad.
Another free kick for Juventus, which again Platini takes, and it'll be a cross from Tardelli. Drops on the edge of the Liverpool penalty area. Dalglish is there and slides the ball back to Bruce Grobbelaar, and a bright yellow sweater away to our right. The light beginning to fade here now, and the shadows marked on the pitch from the floodlights in a match that we expected to have ended a long time ago, and to know who the European Cup winners would be for this season. Battling again by Walsh. Had a good run, Walsh, since he came back into the side. Dogged very much by injury and seemed to be almost unfit for this game. Indeed, we heard on a day before we left Liverpool that he'd be out of the game. He said himself he felt he had very little chance. But the stomach muscles were right. An amazing recovery, and Walsh is out there playing. In the meantime, it's a throw in to Juventus. Just 27 minutes gone on the watch here. Still 0-0. And Liverpool looking to retain the title and keep it. We're still waiting for the Juventus throw.
Still feeling each other out, Peter. It's a game of 90 minutes. We've had about a third of it.
As again the ball played deep inside the Liverpool half, and Gillespie is there at the heart of it all. Gillespie coming on in the opening minutes of this game when poor old Mark Lawrenson, who felt his shoulder was going to be all right, and within the first minute of the game it was clear the way he was holding his arm to his side, the shoulder had gone again. But as Emlyn Hughes was saying, Gary Gillespie will not let Liverpool down. In the meantime, their captain Phil Neal. Cross comes in, Walk controls it with difficulty but nevertheless effectively. Finds Dalglish with a little chip shot. Well, the idea was right because Stefano Tacconi was off his line, but in the end it was about a foot over the top of the crossbar. So Tacconi, wearing the long shorts that Italian goalkeepers always seem to sport. A little surprised perhaps to be in the side because Luciano Bodini is the regular man for Juventus, but Tacconi is the man in form, and so he gets his place. Juventus, the sixth of the clubs that Tacconi's been around. He's been around a long time. Liverpool in possession. Once more, Fagan, who is preferred to the now fit but experienced Alan Kennedy, runs it a touch, Juventus throw.
It's amazing how the back lads at Juventus play. The only thing they're interested in doing is picking up their players. The lad who's marking Ian Rush goes with Ian no matter where he goes, doesn't look at anything else, just runs with him, and that's his sole job. He's just picking up Ian.
That's right, that's Brio who's marking Ian Rush, and Favero, the dark-haired fullback's doing the same on Paul Walsh. And now Juventus themselves on the break, and they've got Rossi waiting for the cross here, and Boniek's at the far post. Liverpool defend well, they defend very well indeed, and Phil Neal breaks it all down, takes control close to his own corner flag, clears the ball, but not very far. Cabrini's prepared to go for that one, and that'll be another free kick to Juventus, some 20 yards or so inside the Liverpool half. We're just coming up to half an hour on the watch here in the first half, and Juventus take the free kick short, and from Bonini it will go square. It's cleared by John Walk, who's back as an extra defender though, and again Liverpool battling. And again a player goes down on the ground, and this time it's a Liverpool free kick deep inside their own half. And this is a match, as we were saying earlier, that both teams want to win very dearly. One of the biggest prizes, if not the biggest in Europe. Won already 4 times by Liverpool and wanting a 5th, and Juventus wanting to win it for the very first time. Below us, Whelan plays down the line, tries to find Walsh, played it a touch by Favero, and again, as Emlyn was saying, Favero, the number 2, has never been more than a yard from Walsh for the first half an hour of this match. Whelan waits to take the throw just below us, down the Liverpool left, holds the ball above his head, hasn't too many options at the moment, finds Walsh, who's behind him, Favero. Walsh still finds Whelan, plays it flat, and in fact Liverpool haven't got too much room to work in, but Dalglish doesn't need too much room, and he still finds Hansen. Long ball from Hansen, and Rush looks for the back header. It's cleared though by Bonini, and it'll be a throw in once more to Liverpool. Beglin, and he'll find Whelan. Oof, a bad ball from Whelan, he gives it to Platini, and that wasn't a good idea. And then ball weighed wide in the end by Briaski. And again, Juventus in possession. Ball laid square, and the shot will come in, and Grobler with a very good save, diving to his left. That was the first really good effort there, and it came in for the fullback Cabrini.
Good save, very, very good save. Not only did the lad strike it well, he got a bit of movement on it as well, and it's gone a little bit, and the lad's made a great save, kept it because everybody was following it in as well, and he's kept hold of it, and he's made a tremendous save. Very pleased.
So the first real firepower from Juventus, that's one apiece so far, but it's still 0-0. And Liverpool going on a run themselves, but again that wall of black and white Juventus shirts, they don't clear it far though. Liverpool still have possession. Little chip ball from Neil, and a shot for Walk. Oh, and a save by Tacconi, and that had to be on. The ball chipped in from Phil Neal, and Walk had nobody within 5 yards. Maybe a little surprised that should have been put away.
Yes, tremendous. What a great ball played through from Phil Neal as well. And they're all claiming that John Walk was offside. He wasn't offside. He's made a tremendous run, timed his run great. He's got in, and the keeper's done tremendous. And John did great as well, because John struck the ball well. Probably struck it too well. The keeper's caught it. He's had a bit of a bobble. And the keeper's a bit of a play actor as well. The first thing he did after he knew he'd saved, he's at the referee. Oh, what's going on? What's going on?
As the ball again is played out by young Jim Beglin, and it'll go into touch, and the throw will be taken by Tardelli, one of the many experienced players in this Juventus side. Dalglish, Whelan plays it outside the defender. Rush on the edge of the Juventus penalty area. Cross comes in from Rush, a foot over the bar. Lovely work by the Welsh international there. Saw his chance, hit it with his left foot. Good ball coming in from Whelan, foot over the bar at the far post.
Yes, 2 great minutes there for Liverpool. They've reached the Juventus defence twice, and Rushy there, I think it was more a cross than a shot, but the keeper's come near post, and it's just gone over the top of the bar there. So that'll give Liverpool heart, because these 2 defenders on Walsh and on Ian Rush are hard lads, and I mean hard lads.
As Juventus played safe, back to Tacconi, the goalkeeper. For so long, of course, we were used to the great Dino Zoff in the Juventus goal. Now it's Mr. Tacconi, who's a little surprised, I think, to find himself here instead of Bodini. As we were saying, he's the man in form. 0-0 with some 12 minutes to half-time here in Brussels. And again, if you've joined us in the last minute or so, you'll be surprised to hear me saying that when it's 10:15 here in Brussels. It's because of the crowd violence and the awful scenes we had for an hour and a half here tonight, including deaths. Juventus, edge of the area. Good clearance once more, though, by Liverpool, with Neil coming across to help Gillespie. But Juventus take it up once more. The ball flicked forward, and Grobler did well to come off his line. Rossi was coming in strong, and he had behind him the man Briaski. And Grobler did well. He was brave there as well as quick.
What a shame, Peter. What a shame, Peter, everything that's gone on before the game started, because what a good game this is going to turn out to be. 2 of the best sides, I think, after seeing the first half an hour, 2 of the best sides to contest a European Cup final in the last 10, 12 years. And it could be a cracker as well. And we've got so many problems that have been created. And what's happened?
Rush is set up by Dalglish. In the meantime, the shot comes in. Oh, what a save! Great shot from Whelan. That was screaming for the top right-hand corner, and a magnificent save by Stefano Tacconi, and it had to be. Great shot, better save. Corner then to Liverpool. And Steve Nicol, the Scotsman, will run across, and the Liverpool flags and banners wave now away to our left. And it's down that end that we have the Union Jack at the top of the mast, with the Italian flag away to our right. and we wait to see what Liverpool can do with the free kick. It's the far side from us, and it's a long way from where we sit. Liverpool right. They take it short, come in, and they're looking for Walsh. He can't get through that wall, though, and it really is a wall of black and white Juventus shirts. They set Platini off on a run. There could be danger here. Platini, he's got lots of defenders in front of him. Still Platini stands on the ball. Lovely control by him. Little chip coming in from Rossi. That's offside. Flag went up straight away. But when you see Platini in that position, there's problems.
That was major problems, because when they took the corner kick down there, Platini's the nearest man to the corner. And the first thing he's done since then is sprint down the middle of the pitch. He's broke clear. And really they should have done better than what they did with it, because they had the Liverpool defence a little bit stretched there.
Liverpool in possession again. Dalglish will find Whelan. He's been really will-o'-the-wisp all night, Whelan, so far. Still controls it. Slides it to Dalglish in turn. We'll find Fagan, the fullback, who's gone forward like almost an extra outside left. A couple of yards in from the near touchline, halfway inside the Juventus half. Walsh, and again that man Favero like a postage stamp. Ball breaks though, and Juventus will try the break themselves. Paolo Rossi had rather a poor domestic season, but he can raise his game when it matters. Long ball laid left once more, looking for Briaski, but Grobler read it well, comes quickly off his line. Looked very sharp this morning in training, did Bruce Grobler, playing as an outside right. He looked sharp, didn't he, Emlyn?
He looked sharp when he come near me.
But it was all good spirits this morning, and the awfulness of tonight, which will remain with us forever, here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, with at least 35 deaths as a result of the violence. But here we are with football, and it's 0-0. And we've got now 8 minutes to half-time in the European Cup final of 1985. Platini trying to burst his way through. Hansen was too tall and strong. Platini claiming he'd been fouled. Swiss referee says not at all. So Liverpool themselves will go forward with that man Hansen. Chips the ball to the right. A lot of people inside that Juventus penalty area. Can Liverpool do anything here? Well, Whelan's twisting and turning and trying. Hasn't got too much room to move in, and he's claiming the corner, and the linesman says no. That will be, I think, a goal kick, says the linesman. Referee agrees. Dalglish looking a little bit disgusted with that. And Dalglish we expect to be named as the new player manager on Friday up at Anfield, with Joe Fagan announcing his retirement. But I also understand from a very reliable source that it could well be successors in the plural and not a successors. It should be intriguing to see what news will be broken at Anfield on Friday. But certainly Joe Fagan has had 2 wonderful seasons. And simply saying this morning he thought a younger man should do it. He was feeling a bit tired. And Joe Fagan, the man who came out to try and restore some order after the mayhem in the first hour here from the crowd. Dalglish back to Fagan, plenty of time inside his own half. And he'll find Gillespie, who's playing after the first few minutes with Lawrence off. Walk played down the line from Walsh to Whelan. Cross comes in from Whelan inside the area. Good header by Favero, and Bonini's going in to help out as well. Ball doesn't go into touch. Juventus regroup. Play it again to the tall, strong figure of Bonini, his 4th season with Juventus. Plays the ball forward. And again they regroup, and they do this so quickly. It's the rather calm, slow build-up, and then suddenly the quick dart, looking for people, of course, like Rossi and Boniek and Briaski. And the ball played forward, and that's a foul. And Boniek wasn't happy about that one, neither was the referee, and that'll be a yellow card, I think. And John Walk's name goes in the book by the referee, Andre Denner of Switzerland, because that was troublesome, Emlyn.
Yes, it was troublesome because he got past the Liverpool midfield and he was running at the defence. He made a meal of it. It was a foul, without a shadow of doubt. It was a foul, and probably a bookable foul. But he did certainly make a meal of it. And now there could be problems, because this fella Platini he can strike a ball unbelievable.
Yes, that man, Platini, one of the great players in Europe, 57 caps, and here comes the shot, and in the end it's played wide there. That caught them a bit napping on the right, Emlyn.
It did, actually, yes. As I say, they running at defenders is awful to counteract. I mean, if you get past your midfield players and you're running at a defender, he's always second best, because you've got speed, your defender's got to turn and might have to have players in front and people making other runs, and he might have other things on his mind. And the lad Boniek then certainly had a bit of a head of steam on.
Hansen inside the centre circle finds Gillespie for Liverpool. He's got Neil on his right, but in the end switches it towards us down the Liverpool left. Rush will jump for it. Brio will be with him, and the ball will go into touch off Rush, although he claimed the ball himself. 5 minutes to half-time here. And the man Brio takes the throw in himself, and he finds Favero, who skips away from Dalglish. And again, Juventus regroup, and again the build-up is slow. They're taking plenty of time with Cabrini, one of the best fullbacks in the business. Then they give the ball away, and it's picked up by Whelan. Whelan finds Walk. Walk will find Neal. 10 yards inside his own half, down the Liverpool right. Cuts the ball square. Whelan plays it square, 20 yards to Alan Hansen. Hansen keeps it going towards us. Jim Beglin will go just inside the Juventus half now. Still 0-0 here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels in the European Cup final of 1985. Beglin, little chip just on the edge of the area. Oh, it just missed Ian Rush. The loose ball coming down there, another yard, and Rush would have been on that one. And that could have been meat and drink for him, but he missed it. And Juventus will clear. Scirea has been in the business a long time. 70 caps for Italy. Another free kick. Platini waits to take it and plays it short. Bonini comes into the action, finds Cabrini just inside his own half. And again, that slow but effective build-up by Juventus, just on the halfway line. Every Liverpool player but Rush now back inside his own half to our right. They find Tardelli, keeps it going below us. Rossi trying his luck down the right, only 5 yards in from the near touchline. Still holds the ball. Rossi almost falls over his feet and tries to play it back, and in the end the ball will go into touch, but that'll be a Juventus throw. And again, it'll be Tardelli to take it, throws down the line, the ball played in over his own line by Beglin. And behind that Liverpool goal, there must be 300 photographers and an equal number of police. As the ball again is played out, and they're looking here for Boniek to do something, and he can't. And I'll tell you some more news in a moment, and it's even more dreadful, the news of the violence before this game started. Let's get on with the football just for a moment, though. Ball laid through, a chance for Walsh, and Tacconi did well to come off his line as Walsh was going through. He's certainly been very quick and very sharp. And in fact, Mike Ingham's just been handed a list now of the deaths, and Mike will give you the saddest news of all tonight.
We understand that 42 people lost their lives here before this game got underway, and out of those 42, 36 of them were Italians and 6 English supporters as well. 42 people died then in the awful scenes 2 hours before this game. That's the reason that we are well over time here in the Heysel Stadium. 42 dead, 36 Italians and 6 English people.
Back, we must go to the football then with that terrible news here tonight in Brussels. As the ball is cleared, it's still halfway inside the Liverpool half. And at half-time, which is now in about 2 minutes' time, I'll give you the emergency telephone number for listeners back home to ring here if you're inquiring, of course, about friends or relations. I'll give you that in just a couple of moments, and it's desperate that we have to say that. Platini, in the meantime, goes forward. He's gone round one defender. Good tackle by Dalglish. Shot comes in, and Grobler did well. It wasn't a bad effort in the end there, and Grobler did well to get behind it.
We were talking earlier, Peter, about Joe Fagan, you know, the 2 seasons that he's had in charge, and eventually he's going to call it a day this year, and everybody thinks that Kenny Dalglish is the one that's going to take over. And people are saying that Liverpool and Joe this year have had a bad time. Now, he's only been there 2 seasons. They've won 3 trophies the first season. This season they finished second in the English League. They finished second in the English League this year. They got through to the semi-final of the FA Cup, and they're here again in a European final, a European Cup final. Now, that to anybody else, any other football team in the whole of the world, would be their most 2 successful seasons of all time. And people are saying that Liverpool are having a struggle. Incredible.
That's
the standards that they set.
Emlyn, isn't it?
That's
the
right.
Quality, the thoroughbred quality of Liverpool. It's 0-0 here, and we're in the last minute of the game, and I see Ronnie Moran is Ronnie Moran is looking rather seriously towards Paul Walsh, who's been limping since that collision when he came in sharp. The last minute then of the first half here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. It's still 0-0. The ball chipped forward on the left for Juventus. The cross will come in. Oh, and the header's missed. And again, they're looking for Boniek. Ball is clear. To see Craig Johnson doing a little bit of warming up just below us. One of the Liverpool substitutes, and remember they've already used Gary Gillespie when Mark Lawrence's shoulder let him down in the opening minutes of this game. That could be serious for Liverpool. Perhaps the half-time, 50 minutes or so, will be enough to patch up Paul Walsh. In the meantime, ball played forward by Tardelli to the far post, too far forward though, and Phil Neal will just shadow the ball, let it run over, and he'll take the throw in himself near his corner flag.
The two players this morning, Peter, when we were down training with the Liverpool lads, the two lads I went over and had a chat with Paul Walsh and Mark Lawrenson, and both of them look as though they're not going to reach the second half.
Well, there goes the whistle, as you may have gathered by the noise in the background. Before I ask Emlyn Hughes for a comment on the first 45 minutes of what we certainly expected, it's turned out to be a gripping match. Let me give you the much sadder news that earlier, before the match started, we had scenes of terrible violence with Liverpool fans attacking Juventus fans. An hour and a half of a battlefield. We were able to report just a moment ago that the number of deaths has now increased, including some British fans, although most of them were Italian fans. And let me give you the emergency telephone number for listeners back home if you're inquiring about friends or relations here. It is 010 32 251 79611. And the areas concerned are areas Y and Z here in the stadium. Areas, tickets, that is, Y and Z. And the number again, 010 32 251 79611. That's the emergency telephone number. Awful and sad and horrific. All right, try and pull yourself together, Emlyn, and talk about the first 45 minutes of the football.
Well, the events beforehand have overshadowed everything, obviously, that took place on the pitch. But since the game started, and we started, as you know, well late, the game itself, I think, has been a cracker. There's been two tremendous teams, two of the best sides in Europe. I think it's the best European Cup final I've witnessed in many a year, and since 1977 I've either been involved as a player, or I've travelled over as a BBC reporter or whatever, and I've seen probably 5 or 6 of them, 8 finals, and the others I've seen on television. And I think these are the two best sides that have contested a European Cup final since probably 77, when Liverpool and Mönchengladbach contested it. And the game itself, for the first 20 minutes, everybody was feeling each other out, probing here, probing there, without really getting into anything too strenuous, and in and out. And saying that, I think that Liverpool have had the best. Liverpool have had the best of the game, and I think that it could still go anywhere, because Juventus can certainly dig in a little bit, and there's 2 or 3 naughty lads out there on the Juventus team.
And looking at the tactics of Juventus, of course, which is typical, and certainly the way that their coach Giovanni Trapattoni would use, a former international himself, Emlyn, and that's this man-to-man marking that you mentioned early on. We've got Favero, the fullback, Luciano Favero, who's not moved more than a yard from Paul Walsh all night, and also the big man Sergio Brio, who's been sitting on the back of the end rush. Now, they've got to get themselves out of that, and that, as you know yourself, when you're playing against Italians, is very, very difficult.
Very, very difficult to do, as you so rightly say, Peter. Ian Rush is carrying a swollen hand. He did that in training the other day, and that won't help his cause any. And also, it looks as though Paul Walsh, who had started off tremendous, touched his little backside into people, turned and spun, and looked very, very sharp. It looks as though he's gone again. Just a minute before half-time, he's chased one through. He's overstretched, and I know he had problems with his stomach muscles, and since then it looks as though he's going to come off. So the two lads, Lawrenson and the young kid who's just having to come off, Paul Walsh, it looks as though they're going to be down to players that that are being shoved in for the first time.
Well, the time here in Brussels is 32 minutes past 10. At this time, we hoped, in fact, to be back at the hotel, and of course, we hoped to see the Silver European Cup, the property of Liverpool forever. But because of the terrible scenes we saw here beforehand, an hour and a half of pitched battle with the Liverpool supporters attacking the Juventus supporters, as a result, at least 42 people have died here tonight in the Heysel Stadium. And as I look down now, I have never seen a scene so horrific in the many European Cup finals I've reported on over the years, because down there are military police, there are policemen with batons and riot shields. There must be 1,000 policemen, a steel cordon around the stadium. But nevertheless, we've got football, And the half-time score here is Liverpool 0, Juventus 0.
Reaction coming in from elsewhere as well. The Prime Minister has been following the reports and shares what will be the universal horror at the scenes. That's in a statement. She said that those responsible have brought shame and disgrace to their country and to football. The Sports Minister, Neil McFarlane, said that he had feared trouble at the match and had written to the Belgian ministers 3 weeks ago, urging all precautions to be taken. And Liverpool Member of Parliament David Alton said, following so quickly after Bradford, it's a double tragedy. Tonight's events put a pall over the reputation of Liverpool Football Club. The FA Secretary, Ted Croker, caught up with tonight's news at Miami Airport. He's on his way to join the England party in Mexico. After informing him of the events, Gary Richardson got his reaction.
Well, it's obviously come as a shock to me because this is the first I've heard of it. I had no idea anything untoward had happened at all, so it's very hard to react. This is obviously another disastrous event that depresses me completely, and I feel, well, just the feeling everyone feels when there is a major tragedy such as this.
Do you have any idea at all what the consequences might be?
I have no idea, none at all. I know that the disciplinary committee of UEFA will be meeting in about 4 weeks, but I think that's, compared with the enormity of this tragedy, that's not particularly relevant information right at this minute, because this is something that's got to be considered in its own right without... Well, I'm just shocked. I can't say any more, I don't think.
It is already being suggested that UEFA will not tolerate this at all, and they will finally say, that's it, English clubs no longer will compete in European competition. Do you feel that could happen this time?
Well, obviously one's got to know the facts behind it, because we're not... I don't want to go too much on this tack at this stage, because we're obviously going to be mourning those who are lost, but there is an awful lot of comment made about our supporters who don't do us no credit, but there are also, unfortunately, similar idiots from other countries as well who've made their mark in Europe these days. So I think we've got to know the facts at least first, but I think that any consequences will come out of this, and certainly what you're suggesting is not an impossibility.
The Football Association have been criticised recently by the government. They say that you're still not taking a strong enough line against the way supporters feel. Do you think now that you might change your tack in view of what's happened this evening?
If we thought there was anything else sensible we could do, we would. As you know, in the England matches, we take no tickets whatsoever now, and we discourage people from travelling, so we can't do more than that. As far as these matches are concerned, our international liaison officer will have helped them all he can, but as far as people leaving these shores to go and watch football matches or other things, there's nothing whatsoever we can ultimately do about it.
The FA Secretary, Ted Croker, talking from Miami. The game itself is back in motion, so straight back to Mike Ingham.
And here in the Heysel Stadium, an hour and a half behind schedule we are. The second half is 25 seconds underway. And Liverpool, as we rather anticipated at half-time, have made a second substitution. Paul Walsh, who was struggling badly in the closing stages of the first half, perhaps with a recurrence of the stomach strain that he's had. He also got whacked quite a few times as well for his troubles in the first half. Hasn't come out. And Craig Johnston is up front for the second half alongside Ian Rush. Juventus just the way that they were in the first half. And what a tragedy this is, of course, because for the most part of these opening 45 minutes, it's been on the field really the match, the high-quality competitive match that we might have expected between these two sides. 0-0 then, everything absolutely to play for still in this second half. And Liverpool trying to gain ground over on the far side there left. Ronnie Whelan combining with John Walk, with Craig Johnston rather, and it's a Liverpool throw-in 10 yards from the corner flag. It's back with Jim Fagan now. Fagan has to backtrack slightly, working himself a little angle. Still Fagan. Back to the man over on the far side, Whelan. A lovely curve ball from Whelan. Walk trying to get in on the back post, but Caprini is there, and so too is the fair head Bonini. And that'll be for Tacconi. A goal kick, and Tacconi, very much one of the Juventus men of the first half, made some splendid agile saves to keep the Italians in this game.
Just to interrupt a second, Mike, I've just had a report which still needs to be confirmed from a UEFA official that whatever happens here tonight, the European Cup will not be presented at the end of this game as a result of what happened earlier, and that there will be no lap of honour. That's to be confirmed, but that has come from a UEFA official. The Cup will not be presented tonight, and no lap of honour.
And that would seem to be right. No honour really here at all this evening, anywhere to be found. No presentation then at the end of this match. We'll get a comment from Emlyn Hughes on that in just a few moments. Public address system at the moment drowning us out. Liverpool trying to gain ground down the right, and Craig Johnston coming through. A little bit high though there, Craig Johnston. Vero, the fullback, asked for the free kick, and they love to take these free kicks quickly to Juventus, and they're already breaking. Platini to Bonini. Bonini rolls the board forward. Rossi's chasing it to this near side, trying to keep it in. Does so, hustled all the way though by Phil Neal, and happy in the end to let the ball run out for what he thought was going to be a throw into Juventus. And who on earth wants to claim this? Phil Neal does. Throw into Liverpool, the captain to take it. 20 yards from goal. Near side, the Liverpool right. Liverpool attacking the goal then, away to our right during the second half. We're sitting midway inside their half. A loose ball though, and a chance for Shirea to feed Boniek. Midway inside the Liverpool half, over on the far side, the Polish international Boniek. Now with Tardelli. Juventus building slowly. Breaking down again in midfield, having to come again now through Boniek, 30 yards from goal. Maybe trying his luck now on this side. Platini inside left position, trying to play a 1-2 there with Rossi. Liverpool cut it out, and it's a Juventus throw just down below us. And Antonio Cabrini, the left back, to take it. Cabrini then with the Juventus throw. We've sorted our microphone problems out here in the Heysel Stadium as the supporters make themselves heard. Favero now to Platini, just inside the Liverpool half. Central position, arrows the ball over to the far side. A lot of Juventus possession at the moment. Liverpool, though, happy to get lots of men behind the ball and wait for Juventus to come at them. Rossi digs the ball back to Bonini. Juventus have made about 15 or 16 passes. They're still making at the moment. Platini, though, just plays it too far in front of him. Liverpool take it away. Hansen, little casual from him, but picks up Dalglish midway inside his own half. Dalglish turns away from trouble, and it's now with the Republic of Ireland international Jim Fagan over on the far side, already inside the Juventus half. With the other Republic of Ireland player up there, Ronnie Whelan. Whelan to Rush, a little bit of space for Rush maybe, edge of the area, digs the ball into the box. Cabrini's back to Coney. Emlyn, the news that there will be no presentation, no lap of honour this evening. That has to be the right move, surely.
Very, very much so, yes. I wouldn't think anybody would want to do a lap of honour tonight after the scenes we've witnessed. And I also think that not presenting the cup is the right thing to do as well, because again that would only incite people into, you know, after whatever's gone on, if one side has won the cup. And the other thing I don't want to happen is it go to penalties. I mean, I think that would be awful again. You know, if as daft as it sounds, I'd like the game to be a draw, and for UEFA to turn around and say no extra time and share the cup for 6 months. I would love that to happen, because at least it would then give them a little bit of hope to cling to, that things haven't gone totally and utterly wrong as far as their team is concerned.
Well, that would be, in this noble and stately city, a noble gesture, certainly, I think, at the end of this evening. And at the moment, certainly, that sort of result is on the cards as well, because it's so very tight in this 1985 European Cup final. We played 5 minutes of the second half. It's still Liverpool 0, Juventus 0. Liverpool, by the way, have used already both of their substitutes. They wouldn't have wanted to, but it's been forced on them. Gillespie's on, and so too is Johnston, because of injuries to Paul Walsh and Mark Lawrence. Liverpool have taken a free kick. It's been headed away to this near side. And Steve Bickle now with the throw-in. Trying to get Johnston going. Johnston going up in the air with Cabrini. Juventus scramble it away. And now Briaski approaching the halfway line. Liverpool, though, tackling back well. John Watt was the man there. And Phil Neal completes the defensive work all the way back to Bruce Grobbelaar. Who will ever forget Grobbelaar's penalty antics last year when it was another Anglo-Italian final in Rome. Liverpool winning it on penalties, and Grobbelaar doing all sorts of things, of course, to try and upset Graziani and Conti and those Italians. Grobbelaar as safe so far as he's had to be in this stadium. Liverpool doing well, containing, holding. Juventus sprinting forward, though, now over the halfway line. Tardelli looking for Boniek. Liverpool, though, standing up well, and now Platini takes over. Platini with the ball over to the far side. Juventus crowd don't like that one, but the flag was up straight away. Platini is protesting. Mr. Dana from Switzerland is very, very firm. He runs straight across to the spot where he wants this free kick taken. The linesman stands motionless over on the far side, midway inside the Liverpool half. And when we get the ball back from the crowd away to our left, it'll be a Liverpool free kick.
I wouldn't think that Platini's doing himself or his team any favours, actually, demonstrating like that to the referee and holding his hands out and pretending to do a mock fall over and that, especially with what's gone on earlier. And he wants to cut that out as soon as possible, because he's a better player than that. He doesn't need to do that.
Alan Hansen then, just to repeat, without his defensive central defender, Mark Lawrenson, without a dislocated shoulder, and Alan Hansen has really stepped up a gear here tonight. He's had to. Now with Gillespie, the man who's taken over from Lawrenson. 20-yard ball over to the far side to Whelan. Whelan running with it, looking for somebody to move and help him out. It's Kenny Dalglish who's playing behind the front two tonight. Spreads it wide to the far side, and the long legs of Alan Hansen once again seen pumping forward now for Liverpool. A little bit tight to the line though. Craig Johnston is trying to work himself a little bit of space, but you don't get that against Juventus. Favero is there. Johnston plays it quickly. Dalglish chests it off back to Johnston. Johnston trying to release Rush in the penalty area. For half a moment it looked as if Brio had taken his eye off the ball, but Tacconi, the goalkeeper, is supporting well from the back, and he's already released Briaski on this near side, but Briaski running into trouble. And now Phil Neal sprints a little and then plays it short to Whelan. Whelan is getting through an awful lot of work here for Liverpool. It's with Steve Nicol, 2 or 3 yards in on the right. A little chip that doesn't quite work as he tries to go over the left back Cabrini. Cabrini cuts that out. And now Rossi's backpedaling and getting caught. Is he? No. He manages just at the last minute to flick the ball to Boniek. And now Tardelli disputing possession in the centre circle with Whelan. Juventus now get it wide over to the far side to Boniek, who's taken up a good position. Boniek stabs it forward. A little telegraph though that. Bagelin cuts it out. Bagelin though gets himself in trouble second time round against Boniek. Boniek took it off him. Bagelin tried to get it back off him, fouled him in the process. Once again Juventus tried to take the free kick quickly, and indeed they've been allowed to get away with it. Boniek up to the edge of the area. Rossi tries to fend off Hansen. Whelan plays it tight for Dalglish, who was really played into trouble there. Juventus get it back again. Platini once again is in the wars. And it's a free kick to Juventus, and this is 25 yards from goal. Marco Tardelli, goal scorer in the 1982 World Cup final for Italy against West Germany, is there. But I rather fancy the man who will take it. Indeed he does, is Platini. Little chipper from Platini, but Hansen cuts it out. And Whelan whacks it up to the halfway line. There's nobody there at all. Indeed, the ball is going to fall away to this near side for a Juventus throw, almost on the halfway line. And it's Luciano Favero to take it.
When you have a person like Platini in your side who's so good with free kicks, whether he's having a straight dig at them or he's bending them in or whatever, you tend to overreact to things, and you move back an extra yard, and it gives him all power to his elbow, and then he does other things that you don't think he's going to do, and he's a tremendous asset and a very, very good player, and a very, very good player of dead balls.
Two cultured, stylish, experienced sides. They love to bring it forward slowly from the back, and Juventus are trying to do that at the moment through Favero, one of the two markers at the back. He was really putting himself about on Paul Walsh in the first half. Now I expect he'll look after the substitute Craig Johnston. Liverpool coming again though, and it's Johnston, a difficult one for him to take, but he does it well. It was a high ball. He managed to get it to Steve Nicol. Nicol's ball into the penalty area, doesn't reach Johnston, and Boniek is coming on a break for Juventus, and Boniek is going into the area, and he's fouled on the edge of the area by Alan Hansen, I thought. But no, says referee Daynar, the offence, according to our official, happened inside the area. And it is a penalty to Juventus. 10 minutes gone in the second half. And Boniek, the man who loves to break from deep positions, when he gets the ball at his feet, he really is a handful. And Boniek has been brought down by Alan Hansen. A marginal decision, but it's Michel Platini, one of the best strikers of a ball in the world, with a chance to realise his dream perhaps here of European glory. And Platini scores for Juventus. Platini, the man who made France nicely wide of Grobbelaar's right. And after 12 minutes, it's Juventus in front by 1-0.
What can you say? To start off with, I think the ball was outside, or the lad was outside the area when he got tripped. But it was certainly a trip. There was no problem about it not being a trip, but I think it was outside the area. But he struck it in well. I mean, the keeper never had any chance at all. And it's going to be difficult now for Liverpool to get back in the game, because these are past masters at slowing things down, at killing games off. And you can never tell, can you?
And it's just the way that Liverpool were undone, of course, in the Super Cup by Boniek, coming from deep, sprinting with the ball, gathering speed, and forcing the defenders to commit offences like that. You can hear away to our right, perhaps. I'm being absolutely deafened by the Italian throng away to my right, with firecrackers and flags. They are celebrating this moment because Juventus, of course, this proud club, played with so much distinction over the years, are chasing the one major honour to have eluded them. They are trying here tonight to complete European history as well, become the only team to win the UEFA Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup and the European Cup. And Michel Platini, who's been the leading goal scorer in Italy in all three of his seasons since he joined them from France, has got the one goal. And could that be the one goal? Because remember, in the last 9 European finals, 7 of those finals have been 1-0 affairs, and Juventus have that important goal.
Since they've scored, and it's only been 3 minutes ago since they scored, they've wasted so much time on taking a goal kick, getting the ball out, doing what they don't want to do, and really frustrating, you know. And it's going to be a terrible last 35 minutes for Liverpool, because it's going to be frustration all the way.
Alan Hansen then illegally stopping Boniek in his stride. Edge of the area, or was it just inside the area? Well, the only man who matters, of course, is the referee, Mr. Daniel from Switzerland. And he pointed immediately to the spot after a quick look at his linesman. And it's Platini's penalty now that divides these two sides. Juventus 1, Liverpool 0, and Liverpool coming from the back. And John Walker's come right back, deep in position inside his own half to get the ball. Now with Phil Neal. Neal with a little chip to Johnston to this near side, and in goes Favero straight away on Johnston, takes him out of the game. Steve Nicol protests, he wants the ball, and they take the free kick quickly, but it wasn't from the right position. It was some 15 yards wide of the area that should have been taken from.
Look at the tricks that they're up to all the time, stopping, poking, nudging, walking away, making sure that they want the ball where it should be, and it's their kind of game now. See, it's perfect for them. They're 1-0 up, and they want to spoil everything now.
Once in front, they very rarely surrender, Juventus. Liverpool free kick, Neal takes it up to the edge of the area. Juventus half get it away. Second chance now for Alan Hansen. Looks to this near side, and Phil Neal is in good space. Now with Dalglish inside right area. Little chip from Dalglish, trying to hope that John Walk could move in on the back of that one. Juventus shadowing him all the way as the ball runs behind Tacconi's goal for Juventus goal kick away to our right. And Joe Fagan appears on the running track. I don't quite know what that is all about in his red tracksuit down there, having words with one of the officials.
It's the doctor, actually. It's the Liverpool doctor he's having a word with, so I don't know what's gone on there now.
Liverpool cut out another attack with both Bonini and Boniek promising, and a chance for Liverpool to counter quickly maybe. They get the ball to this near side. Johnston lays it off into Neal's path, and Neal is coming forward now, as you would expect, as Liverpool, the champions, are a goal behind. Remember, they've never lost a European final. Jim Beglin, the Irishman, 20 yards from goal, thunders one in straight off Bonini, hits him on the backside and runs over to that far side. Beglin hoping maybe he might get a corner, but it won't be. It'll be from 2 or 3 yards from that flag. A Liverpool throw in, and Ronnie Whelan has it. It's Juventus 1, Liverpool 0. A Platini penalty divides these sides. And Tardelli, edge of the area, showing composure, goes back inside the area, finds Bonini. Juventus get it up to the halfway line. There's only Rossi there, and Hansen and Gillespie between them. Managed to get it back from that halfway line to Bruce Grobbelaar, and the crowd don't think too much of that. Boniek, the man who was fouled then by Alan Hansen. Such a racy, pacey player, Boniek, as he's shown so many times in world and European football. And Platini gave Grobbelaar very little chance. Grobbelaar checked to go to the left. Platini rolled it to the right of the Liverpool keeper. You would always back Platini, I suppose, against any goalkeeper in the world, really. I mean, wouldn't you in that sort of situation?
Yes. As we'd said it, ironically, 2 minutes beforehand, what a good kicker of dead ball situations he is, and really give Bruce no hope at all. Stuck it into one corner when Bruce went the other way, and Bruce was about 3 or 4 yards away from it.
Last person in the world you really want to run up against when it comes to penalties, but Liverpool still aren't finished. Whelan runs it back, and Liverpool, through Jim Fagan, the fullback, cannons off to Coney, and that was a good effort from the Republic of Ireland man. Coney, though, is getting his knees and arms down at just the right moment, and he has saved Juventus on 2 or 3 occasions already in this game. Now a chance for Stevie Nicol. Phil Neal helping out. Neal goes inside, and Dalglish is in a lot of space, wearing 7 tonight. Dalglish playing behind the front 2, and the front 2 now, remember, are Johnston and Rush. There is no Walsh and there is no Lawrenson anymore in this Liverpool team. They're both off injured. Dalglish trying to get Rush going, and Rush hasn't had too much joy out of Brio. I mean, he couldn't make that one anyway. It was far too high for him, but no, we haven't seen too many flashes from Rush, have we, tonight?
The big lad against Ian Rush is not only a bully, which he is. I mean, he's a good bully as well, because he can play a little bit, and he's a big lad, and he's giving Ian very, very little room at all. Wherever the ball's been, and Ian's been, he's been half a yard behind him, always ready to leave a foot in behind him, and he's giving Ian a fairly torrid time out there tonight.
And those big men at the back, just to remind you, the vastly experienced Brio, wearing 5, the stopper, and then behind him, a spare man at the back, the sweeper, the libero, Shirea, captain of club, played for his country as well on 70-odd occasions, and will be doing so next week against England in Mexico, in one of those matches that England have managed to fit in, of course, a year away from the World Cup finals. Italy, remember, the holders of the World Cup, and the nucleus of that team came from this club, Juventus, and Juventus at the moment are on the way to realising their dream of European club glory, leading Liverpool by 1-0 a Platini penalty. Another Liverpool move breaks down, and once again it's Platini coming in with the interception, and Platini is fouled, having won the ball back, and so 5 yards from the halfway line takes a free kick himself, looking for Briaski. Gillespie gets up nicely to head that one away. Whelan takes over and looks for Nicol, and the Liverpool midfielder getting a lot of the ball at the moment, but Juventus are quite happy about that. In the last 18 yards, though, it'll take a brave man to go in against those flying feet. Dalglish, good ball to Whelan in space. Whelan, left edge of the area, little curler from Whelan. Rush almost released, but Brio managed to get a little flick on it at the end and force it away for a corner on this near side. Just for a moment, Whelan looked to have got the elevation on that, but Brio, watching it all the way, managed to just slant it behind for a corner on this near side. Craig Johnston wearing 16 to take it. Juventus 1, Liverpool 0. Platini penalty. Johnston corner. Walk climbing well. Platini clearance. Anywhere will do, he says. Whacks it up to the centre circle. Alan Hansen all on his own. Not a man near him for about 25 yards. It's with Phil Neal now. Phil Neal trying to beat the fullback with the high ball. In comes Ronnie Whelan, hits it on the first bounce. Dana, the referee, signalling again another offence edge of the area, and Juventus will take all the time in the world over this. "1-0 here then in the Heysel Stadium, and Peter Jones has some news for us, Peter.
Well, first of all, just to tell listeners at home that the programmes scheduled for 10 and 10:30 tonight have been postponed because of the awful scenes we had here before the game, and we're still only just 20 minutes into the second half. But if you want to add to the sadness, I've just been handed a note. Among the 47 dead here tonight before the game started are all 11 boys from the Anderlecht youth team who played in a match as a curtain raiser before tonight's game. What more can you say?
Cut out again there by Juventus. Liverpool have never lost a European final. Whelan crosses the ball, Juventus get it away, and just to repeat the news we gave you at the start of the second half, if Juventus carry on and do indeed win this cup, they won't be presented with it tonight. There'll be no lap of honour, and how can there be really on this evening? Whelan trying to find Warp. There's always a black and white strike man there, though. This time it was Favero. Another deep ball from Platini looking for Boniek, and that is the tactic. Fagan is going across this time to shadow Boniek, though. And Boniek, Emlyn, is the perfect ball for those long balls from Platini, isn't he? He's always in space and always such a handful, always motors when he's put in possession like that.
He has got some pace as well, hasn't he? He's already caused the goal by the penalty that he got. Streaked away from Hansen and Gillespie. One of them got a little touch on him just outside the area. The referee gave it inside the area. It looked to me as though it was outside the area, but he calls that the problem, and then again he's just showed blistering pace there for about 10 yards.
Well, he fell in the area, but the offence, I think, was committed just outside the area. But Liverpool knew the danger. They knew that Boniek has that pace, but they've been unable to curb it at a vital moment, and Juventus lead by the penalty that resulted from Platini. And Boniek's on the ball again now. Rossi is trying to get in at the near post to receive this ball from Briaski, and there's a good tackle coming in, this time from Jim Fagan again, who has really done well over on that far side, justifying his selection over Alan Kennedy. Phil Neal has got his arms raised on this near side. He would rather like the ball from Alan Hansen, but Hansen, well, yes, he has spotted him now, and Neal can cross the halfway line. Johnston is wide on the right. Liverpool attacking the goal away to our right. Johnston has found Steve Nicol, tight to the line, now with Dalglish. Dalglish's first movement was to chip the ball, but in the end plays a little shorty to Craig Johnston. Johnston trying to go round for Vero. Vero is sticking tight, as you would expect. The ball has run out of play. It is a goal kick and not a corner. Liverpool want a corner. Craig Johnston is really arguing about that one. But it is a Juventus goal kick. I am sure they will take all the time in the world over this. We are watching now the masters, really, in Europe at this sort of game. They're in front, and they aim to stay in front. And if they are going to stay in front, Peter Jones will see them through to their first European Cup triumph.
The goal kick then will be taken by Tacconi, the Juventus goalkeeper, away to our right, and behind him he's got the enormous bank of Juventus supporters now waving those black and white flags and banners. 1-0 up, but Juventus give the ball away. It's halfway inside their own half, and Bonini will come back, and in any case Rush was flattened, so it'll be a free kick to Liverpool. This is about 5 or 6 yards outside the Juventus penalty area, and almost centre field, I would say, as Liverpool look at it. Dalglish is there, and again you have the typical situation with two Italian players who stand and say, how many yards from the ball, referee? Oh, 10 yards from the ball. Oh, I see, you mean 10 yards. Oh, I see, right, okay, well, we'll go 10 yards. And of course everybody's now organised, and every single Juventus player is there, defending with Tacconi on his line, crouching at the far post. Can Liverpool do anything with this one? They trail by 1-0. Dalglish gets the return ball, aims it wide, Begden with a shot, and Tacconi did well. There wasn't an awful lot of power behind that, Emlyn, but it must have been a bit difficult.
It was,
came
yeah.
through a forest of players.
It went through a lot of players. Actually, the keeper's done well. The keeper's looked very, very decent. But as you were saying, Peter, on the free kicks, I mean, they are past masters at it, and it does annoy you when you see them standing a yard from the ball every 2 seconds and not getting away. Your description was very apt, actually. You know, how far referee? the horrors they are.
Well, Phil Neal, the Liverpool captain's got the ball on the halfway line below us, down the Liverpool right, and plays it back to Gary Gillespie, who's played almost throughout this game when Mark Lawrenson's dislocated shoulder let him down in the opening minutes. He plays it forward. Bonini is there, though, to head the ball away for Juventus. Platini, a little clip ball forward. Again, problems for Liverpool here. Good running by Briaski. Briaski inside the Liverpool penalty area, then does it all wrong. But he'd done the difficult bit, and then he collided with Phil Neal, and there was no problems for Liverpool's captain, who in turn will find Gillespie, who in turn will find Bruce Grobbelaar. Grobbelaar holds the ball and just plays it short. Alan Hansen, the man who tripped Boniek, from which Platini scored with the penalty 11 minutes into the second half. That's the slim difference in these two sides. But now immediately all 11 Juventus players are back in their own half, every single man. And that's what Liverpool have to get through here. Neal again, in the end, plays a nice simple safe ball to Hansen on the halfway line, moves inside the Juventus half to our right. 56,000 people in this stadium, equally divided between red and black and white the other side. Johnston set up nicely there by Nicol, and then it's all wrong from Craig Johnson, goes high into the sky and bounces among the policemen.
They are the masters at defensive tactics, Peter, as you saw there. Liverpool had the ball in their own half, they've won the ball, Phil Neal won the ball, played it back inside, and all they wanted to do, Juventus, was drop back 11 inside their own half, in a circle, in an arc of people, where it's very, very difficult. And the only chance Liverpool have got, really, and it is to lump the ball up as high and as far as possible. I mean, it's not Liverpool's way of playing, but if the more time that they take, it's food and drink to these players, because they come up against it every flaming week in the Italian league. That's all they do. You watch the Italian league and you see the results, and if any team scores 2 goals, they're the world's best team.
In the meantime, Boniek's going on a run. He starts to move infield. He's 10 yards outside the Liverpool penalty area. He finds Rossi. Rossi's inside the penalty area. Lays the ball back. Shot comes in. High and wide and far from handsome. And really, Briaski might have done better with that one. And certainly, Juventus, with all the experience, because the players are all in their late 20s, or most of them certainly in their late 20s. And remember, 6 of their players won the World Cup for Italy and Spain in '82. That's Rossi, Cabrini, Tardelli and Chirea, remember, and also, of course, Zoff and Gentili, who no longer play for Juventus. That's the quality and the experience of that side. And while they've won the UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup and the Italian Cup, no matter how many, I think record 7 times, and championships galore, they have never ever won the European Cup. And certainly it was a suggestion, although we weren't there on those occasions. They froze in '73 in Belgrade, beaten 1-0 by Ajax, and again in Athens, which was the surprising thing, beaten 1-0 by Hamburg. Rush has the ball, tries to play it through the gap, looking for Walk, walks down, Rush comes in, collides off a defender, chased by Whelan, and that could be a penalty surely, and the referee is saying what? The referee is saying no, and Whelan went crashing to the ground, and the Liverpool players around the Swiss referee, and he says no, and it's a throw-in, and the referee says no, bring the ball back again.
Peter, that was a penalty, that was a guaranteed penalty. The lads took it, he's just got there before him, and he's took both his feet down there. The referee's had a look at it, and he's thought to himself, no, I don't fancy giving another one here.
So all Liverpool get from that is a throw-in, and then a high ball is crossed across the Juventus penalty area. The referee says no, we'll come all the way back, and that's a free kick to Liverpool. So that might be, well, a talking point, because now we've had 29 minutes into the second half, and Juventus lead by 1-0. Platini from the penalty spot after 11 minutes. I see 2 of the Juventus substitutes doing some warming up on the track below us. Liverpool take the free kick short, comes across the area and headed straight over the bar. And Hansen was up, likes to go up for the set pieces, and that'll be a goal kick to Juventus. But they are certainly past masters at holding on to what they've got. As I say, they really fell apart in '73. Well, not so much in '73, because Ajax were a super side then, but they certainly fell apart in '83 against Hamburg, when they were much the strong favourites and never put it together in Athens and lost 1-0. Well, they're 1-0 up here, and there's no question of them freezing tonight, but it's still a highly competitive game, and Liverpool are still positive, as only they can be. But remember, they've used both their substitutes, Craig Johnston coming on in the second half for Paul Walsh, and Gary Gillespie almost from the start when Lawrence went off with a shoulder injury again. Hansen steams forward for Liverpool, plays the board wild, Nicol waits for it, Tross comes in from Nicol to the far post, the back header comes in from Walk, and that'll be cleared by Chirea, and it is. Again, looking for the quick break, but they've got a long way to go, Juventus, because again, all 11 of them are inside their own half now. We've got 15 minutes to go in the 1985 European Cup final. Again, they tried to make the break, but there's plenty of time for Fagan to turn it back to Grobbelaar.
When Alan Hansen just made a break there and he went past one of the midfield players, all of a sudden they were thrown into confusion a little bit, because it meant one of the defenders who loved to do a marking job had to step out, and Alan played a good ball in there, and they were unlucky not to get a little bit off that. So if either they've got to lump everything up and hope to get a lucky bounce, or they've got to have players going through from the back, because they are 1-0 down now.
Dalglish takes a quick free kick. Walk is there. Oh, and again, Tacconi's so quick off his line. And the flag's gone up in any case, I think, for an offside against Walk. But he really went through quick there. He does it so well. John Walk, 5 European goals, including that hat-trick against Lech Poznan way back in the first round. They want a very much now, Liverpool want a special John Walk if they can. Perhaps there was a foot offside there, but in any case, Tacconi came quickly off his line. He's played well, Tacconi, a couple of very good saves. And you get Juventus again take the free kick, take plenty of time. Again, those 2 substitutes doing warming up exercises below us. And we've got now 13 minutes to go here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. A European Cup final that will be marred forever by the dreadful scenes which held this game up for an hour and a half and have resulted in at least 42 deaths. Some of them British fans, most of them Italian. And it's looked like a free kick for a moment. No, says the referee, so Liverpool pick it up gratefully. Long ball from Whelan, played down the left. Ball will be played at a touch, I think, before Johnson could get hold of it, but he's won the corner for Liverpool. Corner then, Craig Johnston will take it, far side from us, starts down the Liverpool left, and immediately every Juventus player streams back almost inside his own penalty area. They are indeed. They've got 10 players and one just outside his own penalty area. Good tactics, of course, as far as they're concerned, but enormously difficult to break down. Hansen inside the centre circle for Liverpool, the holders of the European Cup. Still goes forward, plays the ball wide. Nicol, little back heel from Nicol. Then played ball once more by Whelan. And he'll find Gillespie, who's gone down the right. And the ball will go over the line. And again, the Juventus player picks up the ball and throws it away. And another Juventus player picks up the ball and throws it away. And that's another 30 seconds gone. And Nicol still waits to take the free kick. And he can do so now. Down the right for Liverpool. Trailing here by 1-0. Nicol backs away a couple of strides. The cross will come in. Headed away, though, by Rossi, who's gone back as an extra defender. And Juventus are deep inside their own half, but they have possession, which is what they're looking for. And a ball laid down the line by Boniek. And some very ponderous-looking running by Paolo Rossi. He really has had a terrible domestic season, we were saying. 45 caps for Italy, 20 goals for them, including 6, you may remember, in the 82 World Cup. He's looked very ponderous tonight, Emlyn.
He has done, actually, yeah. He's had a struggle right from the off. The lad who's caused all the problems has been Boniek with his running. You know, he's such a strong, quick runner that he's had a couple of half-yard turns, and he's gained 5, 6, 7 yards as soon as the ball's been played out there. Very, very quick, very, very strong.
Yes, indeed, Boniek, 68 times he's played for Poland. He scored 22 goals for them too, and there's no wonder. He's only scored 1 European goal so far in this campaign, but he scored both those goals in the Super Cup against Liverpool, you may remember 3 months ago. But that game was a farce, played on ice, really, in Turin, so that really didn't count. But this one may count tonight, when Boniek was tripped by Hansen and Platini scored from the penalty spot. Juventus again take possession, but Priaski can't get round Phil Neal. He was being protected by Gillespie just in case it was required. It wasn't. 11 minutes to go here. Liverpool 0, Juventus 1. Long, deep ball inside the Juventus half. Shirea's underneath it, but Liverpool pick it up again. Walk will find Nicol, plays it through the gap. Whelan tries to get the cross, can't. It's gone off Bonini for a corner. And Bonini looks as if he's going to give it to the Liverpool player and then throws the ball away. Pass masters, but they've got the goal. I wonder if that's going to be the one that really could decide it. Johnston with the corner for Liverpool, deep to the far post, edge of the penalty area. The shot will come in. Oh, great save from Tacconi. A wonderful shot from Fagan, and that was surely going into the top corner, and that was a save of saves. Tacconi, brilliant. Another corner then for Liverpool. I'll ask Emlyn Hughes for a comment there. That's as good as you'll see. Here comes a Johnson corner again. Again, the header will come in. It's still inside the Juventus penalty area. Shot from Nicol. Collides with Shirea. Ball is cleared. Liverpool on the rampage here. But they're 1-0 down. Ball will not go into touch, or will it? Yes, it will. Throw into Liverpool. They take the throw. Far side down the left. Fagan with the cross. Edge of the Juventus penalty area. Johnston with the header that bounces easily into the arms of Tacconi. Tacconi will remember that save for a long, long time, Emlyn.
He's done very, very well, the keeper. He's done tremendously well, and that's 2 shots from Ronnie Whelan he's saved, both very, very similar. He's turned and he's half-volleyed both of them, and the lad's got across tremendous there. He's made a brilliant save.
So Liverpool still trying to break down this Juventus defence, which is formidable, and Nicol's trying to do it down the right. The cross comes in from Nicol, the header comes in from Rush, and it goes off a defender, I think. No, says the referee. That'll be a goal kick. Lovely cross from Nicol, absolutely perfect, and Rushy was there.
Great, tremendous. The game has been so good. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. Juventus a good side, Liverpool a good side. Liverpool done a lot of the attacking. Juventus waited and counteracted, got the goal when they needed it, and I mean have defended like only Italian teams can defend, with 11. I think sometimes they have 15 men on the pitch.
Sometimes looks like that, it's true. And they defend once more. And Platini, a rather wild back pass by Platini, so much so that Tacconi's got a race outside his penalty area and plays the ball into touch. Now the throw is 4 or 5 yards from the Juventus corner flag, and Liverpool are still going forward here, but they're 1-0 down, and we've got now exactly 8 minutes to go here in the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, and the Platini penalty divides the two sides. A high cross comes in and drops straight into the arms, though, of Tacconi, and he takes plenty of time, which of course he's certainly allowed to do, just touches the ball on the turf. And again, we've got that formidable array of policemen in their white helmets away to the right, and the more policemen we can see here tonight after the awfulness of what happened before the game, the better it must surely be. but still heaven knows what will happen when the final whistle goes. That is, of course, unless there's extra time, should Liverpool be able to get back into this game. Hansen plays it short and square. Gillespie again keeps it coming towards us. Neil finds the gap, finds also Craig Johnston. Tackle coming in though by Favero, but Johnston gets the loose ball again. Hasn't got too many options at the moment, then makes the cross. It's fairly flat. It's allowed to run on. Can Whelan get the shot in? And it's finally cleared by Brio, I think it was that time. And now everybody but Groblar is inside the Juventus half, and Liverpool straining every muscle now and every sinew to get back into this European Cup final. Neil again lays the ball forward. Rush, high ball from Rush, maybe a little bit too high. Back header comes in, drops to Nicol. Can he get the shot in? Collides once more, this time with Cabrini. And Juventus take possession. Whistle goes though, and that'll be a free kick to Liverpool. Halfway inside the Juventus half. Plenty of cheers now from the Liverpool supporters away to our left. And again, the Juventus players will stand on the ball. And the Swiss referee comes over and explains the rules, of course, that they don't know, that they have to be 10 yards off the ball. They've now sorted that out, and they are all there defending. Dalglish with the free kick, and it slides off the top of a defender, I think. I think it was probably Brio, so it'll be another corner to Liverpool. 6 minutes to go here. Liverpool 0, Juventus 1. They take the free kick short to Whelan. Played back to Dalglish. Dalglish hasn't got much room to move in, but Liverpool still keep the possession. Scirea heads the ball away. Platini's back also helping as the defender. They're all defending now. Neil with the cross inside the area. Header comes in a foot wide.
Liverpool have played tremendously, honestly they have. I've been ever so impressed with the attitude that they've had and on difficult situations, on difficult grounds. And they've come out here tonight. They've gone 1-0 down against a great side, because Juventus are no dummies neither. They've gone 1-0 down, and they've kept plugging away. They've kept trying to get the ball in there, and they've done ever so well, and it's very, very disappointing. And Juventus are just making a couple of substitutions here. Paolo Rossi's coming off. He's coming off. Number 14's going on. Prandelli's just coming on for him. So Paolo Rossi, as you were just saying, has made... no, Rossi hasn't come off, actually, as it happens. They've just brought Breaski. He's the one that's come off.
Well, Claudio Prandelli is an out-and-out defender, so not surprisingly, Juventus now intend to hold on to what they've got as the ball is allowed to run through to Tacconi, but there have been 3 quite superb saves from the Juventus goalkeeper tonight. And there's nothing, no one can take anything away from Liverpool's resolve. Remember, they lost Mark Lawrence in the opening minutes of the game with a recurrence of his dislocated shoulder, so Gillespie's on for most of the match, and then Walsh limped off painfully at half-time to be replaced second half by Craig Johnston. And again, that man Tacconi's got to come off his line, because again, Rush was there. Walk did some good work on the left. Tacconi holds the ball, though, safely to himself, and still a couple of Juventus substitutes doing again a little bit of warming up just below us. Liverpool trailing here by 1-0. Phil Neal goes forward again. He's halfway inside the Juventus half. Slips the ball sideways to Nicol. Cross comes in from Nicol. That hit the Juventus defender on the hand, but it was clearly accidental. Platini plays the ball right. An awful ball from Platini. There was nobody there at all. So Liverpool take possession with 4 minutes to go here. They're 1-0 down. Hansen going on a little gallop, but he's given the ball away. And Boniek goes racing back to try and pick up possession. He can't. Dalglish just inside the Juventus half. Chips a ball forward. Rush finds Neil. In turn finds Nicol down the right. Nicol plays the ball back to Neil. The cross comes in from Neil. That, I think, is the goalkeeper's ball. He was challenged. And again, Tacconi comes out looking as if he wants to destroy John Walk. It was a fairly innocuous challenge by John Walk. I think it was a foul, but Tacconi wanting to take the law into his own hands. He's been sorted out by the more experienced players around him. And we've got exactly 3 minutes to go here now. And there are shouts, as you can hear in the background, of Juve, Juve, Juve. Are they going to win their very first European Cup in 3 attempts? And will the Cup not go to Liverpool for the 5th time? And of course, if it did so, would stay with Liverpool. To announce this morning that Joe Fagan would be leaving, as the manager that is, but he was making it clear he wants to stay at Anfield, a vital member of the old boot room there. And Kenny Dalglish, we understand, on Friday will be made player manager along with an associate. That's all we can tell you, that's all we've learned. But it's going to be successors rather than a successor to Joe Fagan, as the ball is played into touch, and Juventus did what they wanted, which was to gain about 50 or 60 yards. So it's now deep back inside the Liverpool half to our left. And Beglin with the clearance. Wasn't a good one in the end, and it spins off his boot and drops into touch, which of course is excellent as far as Juventus are concerned. They can take much more time now. They're very much in the driving seat in the last couple of minutes of this European Cup final of 1985. And they'll throw the ball down the line, and the flag goes up for a free kick, I think, for a foul by Beglin. So again, they can take plenty of time with the free kick. It's exactly what they will want now. That's just the script they would have wanted to write. And the noise will get louder and louder from the Juventus supporters below us and away to our right. And we simply pray to heaven that when the whistle goes, if it should go at the end of 90 minutes, there'll be no sort of repeat of the violence and the ugliness before the game started. In the meantime, Platini's got the ball, and the cross comes in from him. Disturbs a ball boy rather than anybody else. They're way over the top. And Liverpool hurry to take the goal kick now. We are moving into the last minutes of this European Cup final. Nickel deep inside his own half, and the referee says no. That has to come all the way back again. And there's going to be another substitution. It looks to me like indeed it has to go back. So Juventus again taking a little more time. Vignola will come on as the second substitute. Vignola comes on for what will be the dying seconds of the game, and Rossi now has indeed come off. So Rossi and Briaschi, the two strikers, have come off. And Vignola, who's also a striker, but he'll certainly now act as an extra defender. We're now at 30 seconds to go by our watch, and most of the noise is from Juventus, and most of the colour is black and white as the ball goes over the goal line. And Tacconi will take all the time in the world to collect the ball from the photographers, and it looks now that the night will belong to Juventus. It looks as if they're going to win the European Cup for the first time in 3 attempts. But still, it's the shadow of death that hangs over this stadium for the violence and the terrible, terrible scenes an hour and a half before the game was due to start, which is why it is now nearly 11:30 here on a Brussels night. We're now in injury time here. And it's picked up by Cabrini for Juventus. Gives it away. Nickel battles for it. Ball runs into touch. It'll be a throw-in to Liverpool. And Nickel himself will take it. And the long throw finds Dalglish. Dalglish. And the ball runs on to Beglin. Tries to get the ball forward. Can't. Gets a second attempt. In the next few seconds, I think, you won't hear the whistle, but you'll hear a noise. But are we? Because Neil's going forward, desperately trying to do something. He can't, though. Juventus will make the break, and they'll just keep possession now. That's all they need to do. We're now deep into injury time here, but they've lost possession. Neil once more. Neil has a look inside a crowded Juventus half. Long ball forward. I think it's too long, though. Ball is cleared by Brio, and that is the end of the game. And Juventus have won by 1-0. Their first European Cup win in 3 attempts. Emlyn Hughes.
What can you say? The events overshadowed the match. The match itself has been a tremendous spectacle. I think it's been a brilliant game between two tremendous sides. Liverpool have done everything in their power to win the European Cup and keep it for England forever and ever. Juventus got the goal and then made life very, very difficult for Liverpool. Very, very difficult. They couldn't really penetrate, and when they did get through, the keeper was absolutely tremendous. Tacconi, I mean, he's made probably 2 great saves, but he's also made difficult things look very, very easy. Coming out and catching balls, making saves, getting down and catching balls that have bounced in front of him. And really, he's been the difference between the two sides, because he's saved and stopped a lot of things. And it's been a sad, sad day. It's been a sad day all over. It's been a sad day that that people have had to die. It's been a sad day for English football, but you know, what can we say now? What can we say about the match? You know, when things like we witnessed today have happened on the football field, it's terrible, sad day for English football and for Liverpool Football Club in particular.
So the Liverpool players then are looking a little disconsolate, to put it mildly, stand in a little scarlet group just below us, and Joe Fagan and his trusty lieutenants Ronnie Moran and Roy Evans. This, remember, Joe Fagan's last match as the manager of Liverpool, which he announced this morning. But the Liverpool players have nothing to show for tonight, but even more significantly, some of their fans have dragged the name of Liverpool deep into the mud here. Again, the saddest of all possible reminders that because of the mayhem here tonight, at least 42 deaths here in a stadium renowned for its sporting achievements, most of them Italian, but some British fans as well, after some Liverpool fans had attacked the Juventus supporters away to our left. And now a few Liverpool supporters, we hope they're real supporters, such a few of them, come down and they lift Ian Rush up on their shoulders. Ian Rush, who's had such a marvellous season despite injuries. At least that looks to me like perhaps the saner element of Liverpool supporters. Because remember, over the years, Liverpool have had such a good reputation wherever they've been. And tonight that reputation was torn to shreds. A wall collapsed after the charge by the Liverpool supporters. As a result, at least 42 deaths, and heaven knows how many serious injuries here. But that takes nothing away from the jubilation of the Juventus supporters and their team down to our right. A team of great experience. It was indeed, as we expected, a highly competitive game, very little in it. And the crunch moment came 11 minutes into the second half, when that man Boniek went streaking away on his own. Hansen tripped him. It seemed marginal to us from where we were, but he certainly landed up inside the penalty area. And Andre Dana of Switzerland, the referee, immediately pointed to the spot. And that virtually meant a goal, because that man, Michel Platini, twice European Footballer of the Year, he doesn't miss. It was his third penalty in the European campaign, and he left Grobbelaar stranded. And that almost really sealed the night, didn't it, Emlyn? Because you know as well as anybody, once they're ahead a side like that, the door is shut so firm it's not true.
It's shut and it's impossible to open, because their game, Italian football, is based on defensive play, and they've just got everybody back behind the ball and made it terrible difficult for them to get through. And Liverpool have played as well as I thought they could possibly play, and really they've lost it. The result on the field has not lost it. Football has been the loser, Peter, and that's sad for England.
Well, the Juventus players, not surprisingly, in a little tight ring of black and white, will dance the night away. Away to our left, there are fires now burning on the terraces, hopefully no more than paper. And below us we have 1,000 policemen and horses and dogs, because while we say, and must say, well done to Juventus, they've won their very first European Cup in 3 attempts. They've won the night, the accolade is theirs, but there's really no jubilation here, because the European Cup was not presented. There was no lap of honour, because what happened tonight was that hooliganism won. Death came to football, and the sport can only mourn. I will give you the scoreline, but I'll give it sadly, not because Liverpool lost, but because I have been witnessing tonight one of the worst scenes I ever hope to witness at a football stadium, and one that I will never, ever forget. Liverpool 0, Juventus 1.